So anybody got any issues or upcoming plans or anything like that we can talk about as more and more people join us?
Yeah, I've got one that's been bothering me for a while, and it's my password that I can't find, I can't remember, et cetera, for the App Store and anything connected with that. Whenever anything comes up and it asks for my password, my ID and password, I can do the ID, but the password, I'm totally out of it now. I can't get onto anything. What do I do?
Well, usually after you do it 3 or 4 times, you'll usually get prompted to go ahead and change it. Haven't you had that? Hasn't it come up and asked you if you want to do that?
No. It just says failed,
You can call Apple, they'll help you through it.
Yeah, that's true. Bob's right about that. They will help you.
They will?
Yeah, it's their advantage. It's their advantage.
Yeah, because they're hoping you'll spend money with them, so let's be honest.
Well, they're out of luck there, but I'll give it a try, but I don't know.
Hi, can anybody hear me?
Who's this, Larry?
Yes. Hi.
This is Jim Abraham. I'm new to this, though. I'm just I have a couple Macs and.
Oh, hi, Jim. How you doing?
Good. Yeah. So can you hear me? Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I'm very new to this, so I just this video calling here or conferencing, whatever.
Yeah, all we see is a little bit of your head, your glasses, and a light bulb up over your desk.
There we go. Well,
I thought that was a shower head for me.
There I am. I'm just using my phone. There we go. Yeah.
Well, whatever it takes to get it to work,
That's true. Yeah. I have a question about the Mac. I have a Mac, like a 2011 MacBook Pro, and it they were talking like that problem with the root. When you sign in and somebody tries to hack your machine, will it just come up, or I don't understand about that.
I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about. Bob, you got any ideas what he's talking about?
I think he's talking about the bug that was in the 13.
It was a bug, yeah.
13.1 where the root was exposed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was like it didn't show up yet on my Macs because I have a MacBook Pro and a Mac.
Oh, he was audio guide.
They issued a fix yesterday. There's a 13.2 update
that came out. Yeah. Earlier than that, I think it was about a week and a half ago or whatever it is. iMore and MacMost and several others had a terminal fix that you could go in, and I did that immediately, although I didn't have the issue. But you're right, Bob. As of yesterday, I think it was that the latest security flaw fix from Apple was released. So if you haven't done that, when we're done today, Jim, you should probably go ahead and go to the App Store and do that.
Okay, well, there was a couple of things with that because there was a workaround. All you had to do was log into your accounts and go into the root and issue a password to the root.
Right. Okay.
That was one of the fixes. But the other thing was that it would have to be on the actual computer or on the LAN and connect as far as sharing.
Right. I don't think there was any way of getting to it from the outside world in.
Right. So unless somebody
it was more like if your spouse wanted to screw you over or whatever.
Yeah. Or if somebody had gotten a rootkit on there where they could take control of your machine, but that would be the only other way.
Oh, well, good. Thanks for the advice here, and I'll watch for it. And I'll see if I need to do that.
Does anybody
go ahead?
Does anybody have any experience with updating to High Sierra, or whether or not it's a good time to do it?
Yeah, I've been using it since it came out. In fact, I was using the beta of it, and I had no issues with that. I think it's really stable. I've been real happy with it so far. Anybody else?
I haven't gone back and tested it yet on our club's computer because I've been out of commission for the past month and a half. But we had a number of applications that would not perform, even though they were both, some were 32-bit, some were 64-bit, but they wouldn't open up.
Well, that will be more of an issue, I guess, sometime next year, the 32 versus 64-bit. But that really shouldn't be an issue right now. Have you heard anything about that one, Frank?
What, the 32 and 64-bit?
Well,
or about any applications that haven't been working so far that supposedly are 32 or 64?
I haven't been paying much attention. I'm probably going to, since I don't have a machine that will run it, my iMac's a 2008 early, so I'm maxed out at El Capitan.
Early.
And my Hackintosh, I'm still on Sierra, and it's working just fine.
Okay.
And I'm waiting until they come out with .3 or .4 update on High Sierra before I even attempt to do anything with it.
Right.
there's some ambiguity about this High Sierra supporting 32-bit applications, because the Apple statement says that without qualification, they will support 32-bit applications on High Sierra, but not afterwards, of course. But the other articles I read talks about June of this 2018. You have to have, it'll be all 64-bit from all developers, and it doesn't give me the impression that it's going to 32-bit will be through the whole life of High Sierra, since updates are normally taking place in the fall of September, October. So I'm not in a hurry to upgrade. I've got a number of 32-bit apps, and I just will not give up, and I'll just wait it out.
I have it running on an iMac and on my MacBook, and I haven't had any problems.
Yeah, we've experienced about 4 different applications where 3 of them were 32-bit, one of them was a 64-bit, and they would not open up. No, that could be a third-party problem too, but I'm not trying. I can't take the time to dissect it.
Yeah. Does Ragtime identify any of these 62 versus 64 apps that run on some Mac OSs and not on others?
Not that I don't know about Ragtime.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, when you guys first started talking about that, I was relating to the iPhone when they came out with iOS 11. They totally cut off the 32-bit apps.
Yeah.
You can't run them. So what they're probably going to do is probably the next release of the, I guess, 1014 or whatever it's going to be. That's probably when they'll cut off the 32-bit apps.
Yeah, they're going to call it Death Valley. That'll be the name.
That's a good name for it, Rob. Bob, that's a good name for it.
Hey, how about the California names? Wildfire.
Yeah, right.
Well, that hits a little close to home. I mean, when we had the Canyon 2 fires here a couple of months back, we were evacuated from our place, so that's a little close to home, unfortunately.
But your place is okay now?
Yeah, we were all right. We were about 1.5 miles from it. That was close enough. We had gotten home from picking up the RV in Vermont on Friday, and on Monday we were told to get out. So we took the RV and one of the cars over to my mom's house in Fountain Valley, and we camped there for a couple of days. So we got lucky.
Yeah.
Hang on, guys. I'm going to see if I can't get a hold of Robert and Steve.
Yeah, I noticed there's a little lag in between your video and audio there, Greg.
Yeah, I'm actually hearing that too. A little buffering.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why that is. It's even doing it on my end. I don't know why.
So does everybody enjoy their Macs? Who has like the newest Mac out? Anybody get the finger, the touch?
Touch bar.
Yeah. Anybody get the new Macs out so far?
No.
Yeah, Robert Ameeti, who I just talked on the phone, is going to join us in a few minutes. He's had one for about 8 or 10 months, and he's going to kind of give us a little review on it. Meanwhile, I'm going to go offline, try to get a hold of Steve.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, John.
Okay, I was just going to say about that. If you got a 64-bit machine, I've read where it'll, I don't know how long, but it will run 32-bit applications. If you got a 64-bit machine.
Yeah, that's right.
If you got a 32-bit machine, you won't even be able to run Mac OS past a certain point in time.
Yeah, I've got a 64-bit. I have a MacBook Pro and a MacBook Air.
Mm-hmm.
The MacBook Air is 2014, and the Pro is 2011. But the 2011 works really good.
Well, my MacBook Pro is a 2014, so.
Oh, okay.
I have a late 2008. Is that a 32 or 64-bit machine? MacBook
That's
Pro.
64. That's 64-bit.
That's good to know. Okay, thank you.
Now the problem is Apple has cut off certain points where they'll allow updates. Like I got an early 2008 iMac, and I can't go past El Capitan on it. Now I can. There's a guy that has a utility out that will basically spoof the Mac that you have. The only problem with that is you have to go to his website and do the updates for it from him. You can't go to Apple like you can on a Hackintosh. So that's why I haven't decided to go that route. So, but I've got a Hackintosh I'm running Sierra on, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm not planning on going to High Sierra until they come out with .3 or .4 on High Sierra.
Yeah, because definitely, if you can run Sierra, you should be able to run High Sierra.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So there's just some technical things that I haven't quite figured out yet, and I got to get another new hard drive. I try to keep my systems separate on different drives, so that way if I want to fall back to something, I have it, because I can go all the way back to 10.9 when I started doing the Hackintosh. So, in fact, I've got one I haven't been able. It's a really old machine. It's something. It's a real. I'm trying to think of what it is. It's got a dual core in it, but it's very limited. I've got Yosemite running on it. It's laggy as heck. So I kind of gave up because my other one, the motherboard and processor died. That ran really good. So, but I do have a laptop. I've got an Asus gaming laptop from 2009, and I haven't been able to go past Mavericks on it. It's still running Mavericks. It works great, solid. But I can't do updates to it. So it's got all.
My Mac, I'm sorry, but my Mac, I have Sierra, High Sierra on it, and I was on the beta, testing, and then when High Sierra came out, I just installed it. And does it mean that I still have the beta on the hard drive, on the Mac hard drive, or because I installed the one from the App Store? Do you think do I still have a full version of High Sierra?
No, supposedly when you install High Sierra, or it blows away the beta copy, supposedly.
Okay, well that's good. Thank you.
I thought the same thing, Jim, when I was doing mine, and I had to go back and do a little research on that. And it
what did your research show about HFS versus a Apple file system?
That's a good point. The Apple, we'll have to talk. Robert's supposed to be on in a few minutes, and he knows more about this than I do. Supposedly, the Apple file system, or APFS, was designed primarily for solid-state drives.
Oh, okay.
So it's been my experience. I learned the hard way. I had taken an external solid-state drive that I had, and formatted it for APFS because that seemed like a good idea. And then without even thinking about it, I went to use that on somebody else's machine that didn't have the current operating system, and I couldn't read it. And which makes sense because obviously it came out after the operating system came out.
Right.
So I decided to go ahead and reformat it and take it back to HFS so I'd have the compatibility, at least for the immediate future.
Okay.
I did read one report that I can't remember the site I was at, but they were talking about HFS Plus versus the APF or the new file system.
APFS.
Yeah, Apple.
Anyway, they said HFS Plus is still faster than that, even on a flash drive.
Really?
From the tests that they were running.
I know the big claim to fame is supposedly flash drives don't give up used, emptied out spaces as easy as regular hard drives do.
Right.
But they don't like to give it up.
Right.
And that was supposed to be one of the big claim to fame. That's why everybody said, well, you'll probably pick up 8 to 10% more space with the APFS file system versus HFS file system, just for that reason. But like I said, when I noticed, it dawned on me that this is a drive that I might be moving back and forth. I've got a 2 terabyte drive that I take with me if I'm going over to somebody's house and I have to back it up because I want to back it up as fast as I possibly can. Believe me, the limitation is usually the bus speed more than anything else. And when I realized that APFS wouldn't work on the older operating systems, or anybody who hadn't upgraded at least to the most current one, I thought, that's it. I'll go back the way it was. No big deal. I'll transfer it over, reformat it, transfer it back. And You're right. I haven't noticed a big difference in speed, and I'm okay with what I've got for right now.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing about the SSD drives is that, since I have one, I don't have any Apple SSDs. I've got third-party ones, and as long as you activate trim. See, the problem is the architecture of the SSD drive, the operating system doesn't know what the drive is doing, and the drive basically doesn't know what the operating system is doing.
Right.
And what happens...
Kind of like the government.
Good point. Good point. Well, what happens is that if the operating system will send a signal to the SSD drive to do garbage collection, so it'll tell these files are no longer good. So now the drive knows to get rid of those files. If you don't have trim activated, what it does is it just kind of keeps all this old stuff stays there, and it keeps moving it around, and it creates more writes to it, and causes the drive to fail earlier than it should because it's constantly rewriting this stuff and putting it in areas.
Right.
I'm just kind of summing up what I understand what's going on there with it from what I've read.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because now since Yosemite, you were able to go in and give a command to turn trim on if you had a third-party SSD drive. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, you had to get a utility that would turn it on.
Like the old guys, and older seniors. Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's my understanding of what's the SSD drives. It's a whole different architecture versus a platter drive. The operating system knows how to handle it, but of course it's slower in transfer rate, read and write, a lot slower. So, but anyway,
as long as it gets the job done, that's all I care about.
Exactly. But yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there because this early iMac I've got a 500 gigabyte SSD drive in it, and I've still got 10.6.8 on one partition, and I'm running El Capitan on the other, so that way I can go back if I want to do something in 10.6 to where stuff won't run in the later operating system.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on my MacBook Pro, 2011, I have Windows 10 on the other side. And is that always advisable to have Windows? I mean, I know I know Mac is the only way, Windows is only allowed on the Mac. But I mean, does anybody else have Windows on their?
I did for the longest time, Jim. I had a partition for Windows on there when I was still working. And then at one point in time, I decided, I kind of like to have that because I only had a 500 gig solid state drive. And I pulled that 100 gig space back off. And believe it or not, I've got it on one of these little guys. That's a 128 gig flash drive. And so
okay.
I ran across these. I think I mentioned this a few months back. I ran across these one day on Amazon, the SanDisk 128 gig flash drives, USB 3 flash drives, for like $13. I don't know whether it was a misprint or whatever. And I said, oh, well, I've got 2 USB ports here on this Mac. I'm using a Thunderbolt expansion port on the back. So I thought, well, maybe I'll buy 2 of those. Well, I wish I'd have bought 8 or 9 of the damn things, because now they haven't been on Amazon for a long time, and the 64 gig version's about $19, which is still not a bad deal. But I keep on one of these, I leave plugged in all the time, and it's got Mavericks on it, believe it or not, because until I get off my butt and switch over the club's website, I've still got a couple of websites that are using iWeb, and iWeb doesn't work reliably past Mavericks. It seems to work, but it doesn't work right. And Mavericks was the last stable one for iWeb, which like I said, I really need to move on. I've got other ones, and I just haven't committed myself to the time. And then I also have one of these little drives plugged in all the time solely for my pictures folder on my Mac. So even though I've got Time Machine running and I've got Carbonite, I screwed up once and had trashed my drive, and I had everything backed up, so I thought. And it was backed up. It was on CDs and stuff like that, but it would have taken me forever on CD. And it finally dawned on me, wait a minute, I've been paying for Carbonite for the last 2 years. Why don't I see if I can get it off that? It took about 2 days to download everything off of Carbonite, but I got it all back. But that convinced me that the photos meant more to me than anything else did. And I'd kind of like to have access to those as quick as possible. So now I've got Carbon Copy Cloner. Every night at 1 a.m., it runs a backup from my pictures folder here on my laptop to that 128 gig flash drive. So I've got an extra backup at least within a day every time, even though I've got it on Carbonite and I've got it on Time Machine and everything else. I've got instant access to it this way. And I thought, well, those USB ports are just sitting there collecting dust. And the nice thing about this little gizmo is if I pick since it's basically just bigger than just the jack itself, the USB jack itself, is I leave them plugged in when I pick up the laptop and put it in a bag, because the edges are so rounded, they're not sticking out like a great big, like a normal flash drive would, like one of these kind of like flash drives that you would normally see. It's not sticking out the side that you got to remember to remove it every time. And so I will eventually get rid of Mavericks, and I'll probably leave that one in there just for, maybe current document backup or whatever it is in case I trash something or whatever. And I just thought, hell, I own Carbon Copy Cloner, might as well use that, and might as well go ahead and take advantage of these little USB ports that are always there. And I've got myself an instant backup for the stuff I really care the most about. And if I ever run across those deals at $13 or $14 again, I'll let everybody know, because that, like I said, I've got a Thunderbolt adapter plugged into this MacBook, and that gives me FireWire 800, which I've still got some stuff that uses both 800 and 400, and that gives me, I think, 3 USB 3 ports, and it gave me a physical Ethernet port and another Thunderbolt port, and then I've got a 7-port USB hub plugged into it. That for the okay, I don't know who that is right now. Excuse me. I've got gas, I guess. I don't know what the hell it is. But I've got several of these these are 2 terabyte drives, and Western Digital has just come out with a 4 terabyte version of this Passport drive for about $90. So I bought myself a couple of those and transferred everything over to those so I'd have some more working space. And I'm gonna mute everybody temporarily here. And then unmute yourself when you need to ask a question or whatever, because that's, like I said, I know it wasn't me. I would have felt, I'm sure I would have felt that one, but anyhow, so I think everybody's back on live again here there. I think, whoop, not yet. There we go. Well, I don't know who that is.
Okay, that wasn't me.
Yeah,
I've been muted.
How many
I
zip
think
drives?
I think it's I don't know who the hell it is.
They're discussing Mac. Good job.
How many backup zip drives do you have too, Greg?
Oh gosh. Well, when I had zip disk, I had probably 20 or 25 of them. But I had the old SideQuest drives. I had 44s and 88 SideQuest and 135s and 270 SideQuest. I've still got a lot of that. One of these days I'll donate it all.
Anybody still use zip drives?
I just got one of our members had to convert his zip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so one of our members had brought over his old computer that he's not using, and a couple of zip drives, and he was wondering if I could, because the computer he was taking them off had zip drive on it. And
really?
what I did was I was able to back his stuff off to thumb drives for him and got that all taken care of. And I went to my little storage room next to my workroom, and I found zips and what was that? iOmega
Jazz?
No, SideQuest. And the thing is, they were Sylvia's. You know, remember Sylvia?
Oh, sure.
God rest her soul. So,
hey, we got Robert there with us. Hi, Robert.
Where?
Good morning, sir.
Oh, there he is. Good morning.
Yeah, every now and then you need a zip or a Jazz or a SideQuest or whatever. I mean, I've had them all at one time.
I have a box.
I never owned a Super Drive. That was one of the few I never owned.
I have a box with USB and SCSI, and I mean, just all those, keep them around for a situation like Larry's, where he wanted to save his stuff because he was moving off of the computer that had a zip drive in it. So, hi, Larry.
Steve, you probably still have a
You're
box.
probably muted. You may be muted. You are muted, Larry. Hang on, I'll unmute. There you go. You got it.
I'm okay. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Ger.
Did you manage to get that 6500 zeroed out, the memory?
I'm sending you a private message right now.
Okay.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Robert.
Robert, yeah.
The other day it was interesting. I remembered as I was leaving home, I found myself needing to do my check for inventory, because every once in a while I've left my computer behind, and certainly it's disastrous for me as I travel. And then every once in a while I leave behind my AirPods, and really that makes for not a fun day. Of course, when you forget your phone, you really have to go back. You really do have to go back. And then the latest, of course, is you forget your watch. And so I now, watch, AirPods, computer, phone. And,
well, there is, if you've got a later style, this is what Apple calls the Series 0, right? This is the very first Apple Watch. And I'll probably get 114 comes out next year. 3 is the current one out right now. And but I don't use any of the other features, so it's not really a big issue. But I think when they came out with Series 1 or Series 2 was when they added that ability to unlock your Mac with your phone, because it had a different version of Bluetooth in it, that it could do the timing structure. It could do timing, and so you could have it to where it was within like 4 or 5 feet versus the 30 foot that Bluetooth would normally be, because it based it on on timing, how long it took for the signal to get to the computer and back, rather than just being within Bluetooth range. And so at the same time, an app came out that told you that if you got your watch too far away from your phone, it would let you know. It didn't work on Series 0, and somebody had an app that did. Of course, it was like $5. So I went ahead and downloaded that, and it appeared to work. And then I'd find things like when I'm sitting here in my fallen apart comfort chair here, and until I lose more weight, I'm too cheap to go out and buy a new chair, because I know I won't need this beep anymore. So I have my phone. I notoriously take it out of my pocket and set it here at my side, because I can feel it vibrate in case I've inadvertently turned the speaker off. And I had that little app on the phone, and it seemed on my watch, and it seemed to work pretty good, because I was notorious getting up out of the chair and walking out to the car, forgetting the phone behind, and because I didn't have it in my pocket. And sure as hell, this little utility would warn me. And then I found out it would also warn me when I was 1 foot away from the watch, from the phone. And so I put up with that for a while, ignoring it. And I kind of thought it was like the cry wolf syndrome. And I thought, screw that, this app goes. So that was $5 I would not recommend anybody to spend on. But the idea behind it was a good idea. It really was.
Sure. What I was really thinking with all of that is how dependent I have become, and due to the enjoyment of Apple devices and such. It's been a very interesting. I mean, they really got me because the appreciation for each of them. The watch is certainly one of those things I guess I have to really chalk up to just for the fun of it kind of thing. I never used to wear a watch, yet today I do take advantage of it in small ways, not as much as I'd like to or might over time. But it was just so. But it's interesting. Over the last 3-4 months, if you will, I had grown a beard. Last time, I don't know if you guys saw me, but this morning I shaved it all off, and I had a pretty good collection of hair there. And what was interesting,
turning gray.
Okay. What was interesting in all of that is my phone wouldn't unlock.
Well, you have one of the new phones, right? You have
right,
the new
yes.
iPhone. Okay,
yes.
So tell us about that, because does anybody besides Robert have an iPhone X or an iPhone 10, I should say?
No.
Okay, until
recognition didn't recognize you without the beard.
That's right. It took about 8 to 10 manual. Got to enter your passwords first before it just now finally said, "Okay, I'll open for you." But I hadn't thought of it at all. Saw in the early reviews people trying different weird things, putting on a fake mustache or beard or whatever. And supposedly it had worked for many people, but it did have to relearn who I was, which was just a bit cute, if you will.
Yeah, I've heard that some people who look dramatically different with a beard, it can't tell. It can't figure it out. And then some people think that they got a beard or not.
Right. And what's interesting with the phone is that one of the things I really, really enjoy about it is that it is a smaller phone side to side, top to bottom, than the Plus, of course, but the screen image size is larger. So I get more image with a smaller physical phone. And isn't that what we all want?
I'll probably get an iPhone 10 next year,
no.
or whatever it's called, or whatever it is.
We really do want a smaller phone. Nobody likes a big bulky thing, and yet we don't really want to give up on screen space. So,
there you go.
In the business we're in of needing to understand the nuances of devices and such, I did opt for it. And what I was kind of surprised with is that, whenever we do sell our old stuff, if we're smart enough to do it, if we don't keep it, on the shelf just in case, that we have options of. And what I did find is that there's the typical places that you might sell a used phone for, might be Nextworth, Gazelle, It's Worth More, or Glide. These are the companies that I found, and I found a difference of about $50 between the lowest and the highest.
Really?
Yeah. So Glide was the
Hang on.
place.
I'm going to mute everybody. Hang on.
Mhm.
Okay, you're good to go again now.
Good,
Everybody,
good,
if you need to ask a question, unmute yourself because we hear too much noise in the background. We can't tell who's talking. So go ahead, Robert.
Right. So I did find Glide was the best source for selling it. My old phone was in pretty good condition. Got $400 for it. You really can't complain much when you get $400 for an old phone. It reduced obviously the cost there of stepping up and all of that. So I found that kind of interesting. But in the recent changes and all of that kind of stuff has been very interesting. I've enjoyed it. A couple of other things I was on top of my mind, and I'm going to come back to you guys with a question here in a moment, is I've signed up for Apple Music, $10 a month or thereabouts. Got Netflix, about $10 a month. And I've got Movie Pass, $10 a month. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but moviepass.com, $10 a month. Get as many movies as you want throughout the year, one movie per day. I've got about $300 worth of movies last month that I went and saw for $10. But Netflix, $10 a month, it gives you the right to purchase movies, rent movies. And it adds up. Just looking for some ideas you guys might have, since it's all about technology. That's what we're making use of. Anybody have a source for easy, better, cheaper movies?
Robert,
yeah.
Let me ask the group, how many people, just by raising your hand so that you don't have to unmute yourself, how many people have the Apple TV? Okay. Do you also have Amazon Prime?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Apple just sent me a text yesterday while I was at a client that they have added Amazon Prime to the Apple TV. So
it's about time.
Huh?
It's about time.
It took about a year.
I had a friend of mine, and after I did my cardio rehab, I stopped by his house, and he was like too scared to press any buttons or do anything. So I had to go over there and sign him in and show it. And then what we did was we tried to see, okay, once you sign in, I don't know about turning off the Apple TV. I just told him to leave it on. But once you take and get verified with your Amazon name and password, then you switch over to Netflix, and then you come back, you're still signed in. It's like a one-time deal.
The only time that's an issue is when they when they update the operating system. Then you usually have to go back and do it all over again.
Yeah.
But I did find with Amazon Prime, it's another collection of movies, but in general, I'm not finding. When I go, I'm looking for. I get recommendations for lots of movies. I go searching for them, and darn it, I just don't find them up there anywhere except, rent them on for a cost at Netflix or such.
Have you heard about the Amazon Fire TV?
I've heard the name. Tell me about it, John.
Okay. Well, I've got one, and it's got a thing called Kodi on it. And there's a couple of apps that will let you search and see just about anything that's out there. Now, people are screaming about the DRM part of it, but the point is you can get just about any movies that's been made in the last 25 years. All you got to do is set it up and use it.
But you have to, you have DRM though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because I asked my son, we have, our cable, of course, and then Netflix, and it was like, hey, Mark, can you capture that? It's no. It's
no,
like,
you don't capture it. You just watch it.
Yeah.
But you can watch different episodes off of Amazon Fire TV or the Fire TV stick, but I like the Fire TV better because it's got Alexa built into it.
Yeah.
Alexa. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like CBS has got their All Access that they came out with this year, and so they have two tiers. They have the $7 tier, which gets you everything that CBS has got, plus commercials. Or for $10 a month, you get all the CBS stuff with no commercials. So to me, it's almost worth $30 or $36 a year to not have the commercials, because I would normally zip past them with the DVR anyway. But I'm a little bit out of shape that the only thing that's unique right now. Well, they got 2 shows or 3 shows. One of them is Star Trek Discovery, which is on hiatus right now until January, and they've got 1 or 2 other shows that are unique to CBS All Access that you can't get on the regular broadcast CBS right now. One of them is The Good. It used to be called The Good Wife. Now it's The Good Fight or something like that. But it's sort of like a sequel to The Good Wife. And so I decided at this point in time, just because CBS kind of pisses me off at times, that I'm probably going to take advantage of their 30-day free trial towards the end of the 2nd season of Star Trek Discovery, when all the other Star Trek Discoveries have been played. I'll watch for 30 days, and I'll watch all the Star Treks in that 30 days. So that I'm good for another year or whatever it is before I have to commit myself, because I'm doing the same thing. I mean, I went with Amazon Prime just to get the free Prime shipping more than anything else, but I gave me the Prime Video as well. And I already had Netflix, and I already had oh shoot, I forget what one other one that I've got.
Hulu.
Not Hulu. No, it wasn't Hulu. But I got to a point where, I mean, it's getting to the point now where at some point in time you're just going to be able to tell, as long as I have internet access, I don't care whether I've got DirecTV or Dish TV or whatever. I'll be able to get everything I want, and just maybe have a regular antenna, at least in the LA area. Because I was sitting out in the RV one day and I thought, I wonder how many channels are available on HD. Shit, there's like 115 of them or something like that. Yeah. Now, most of them are crap as far as I'm concerned, or they're foreign language. I have nothing against foreign language, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And but you'd find 4 or 5 PBS stations, you'd find 4 or 5 other stations or whatever it is. And I thought, I could almost get by. Marsha's a Hallmark freak, so we have to kind of keep it for Hallmark stuff. Yeah. But I could almost get by with, let's say, Netflix, maybe CBS access, but at least Netflix and Amazon Prime to get the free Amazon shipping, because I really take advantage of that, and a regular over-the-air antenna, and not pay for any cable service at all, other than internet.
Well, you have a better picture over the air.
You definitely do. That really amazed me. When you mentioned that, Frank, I was really surprised how much better the picture looked over the air, because they don't compress it as much.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've never ever. I tried cable once. When they first put Conley Copley in Costa Mesa, I got cable, and I had a high gain antenna on my roof with a rotor, so I get Santa Barbara, I get San Diego, I get everything in Southern California on it. And we had a problem with Channel 13, and I says, hey, I need a service call because Channel 13 comes in really lousy. And I wasn't home, but my wife was home at the time when the guy showed up, and he goes, Channel 13 looks great. And she goes, yeah, because it's on the antenna. She flipped the switch, and he goes, yeah, that is bad. They couldn't fix it, so I canceled, and I just went back to over the air. The only thing I have is over the air and Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, for those like Greg and Frank, unfortunately, the only time I could get anything decent without the cable was when I lived in La Palma and when we lived in La Habra. Down here in South Orange County in Aliso Viejo, I'm down below the tract above us, and so it's just no way I can see Mount Wilson. So,
well, that's your problem, Steve. You need to have the Mount Spiegel antenna.
Yeah, I need to have.
What if a guy, especially camping, because like I said, I bought myself a WeBoost cellular booster for my RV, and I bought myself a Wi-Fi booster for the RV, and because I want to try to do some of this broadcast stuff while we're traveling, especially when we go to Alaska, and I started thinking about it. I said, what if you're out in the middle of the boonies or whatever it is? Could you take 150 feet of RG 56 or 58, whichever the latest? I think it's 58 now, and put it on like a giant helium balloon with an antenna attached to it, and just run it up a couple 100 feet, as long as there's no airport traffic over you. How would that work?
It would probably work fine, Greg, because I've seen things like that done where they use a helium balloon to take the camera up in the air so that they can get the image to look down. Because I've always wanted, now that I can't climb onto the roof, and the upper roof is 30 feet up, that I want to see, is my roof tiles getting algae and stuff on them, because I can't get up there and wash them down or anything. I have to hire someone. The perils of getting old.
Yeah, well, that's just the way it is. I mean, this RV did not have a ladder on it. I mean, it's right now it's at. I got a friend of ours who, for the last 40 years, has owned an RV supply store, and they do another half of that business. They do import and export from China and other places. But the one brother is retiring at the end of January when he turns 65, and I've always said I don't mind spending the money to pay to get something done. I just want to make sure I'm not getting screwed when it's happening. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I don't want to spend the money if I don't have to, but I will as long as I get my money's worth. That's all I really care about. And so I thought, well, Marcia really wanted to have a satellite dish or satellite dome on the RV, and I would like to have some solar. The previous owners of this RV didn't do that, so I took it down to Mike, and he's put 160 watts of solar on it for right now. We'll see how that works out, because I think I'd probably have to get more batteries if I wanted to go anything more than that. And he put a satellite dome on it. And then I called AT&T and said, all right, look, I've got AT&T UVerse right now. How much more would it cost me to get a second UVerse receiver? Because I know a lot of people just disconnect the damn thing and put it out there. That's fine for a 2-month or a 3-month trip, but I don't want to do that if I'm just going away for a weekend or a weekday or whatever. And the guy says, oh, you're a good enough customer. That translates into the word sucker. You're a good enough customer, and they're sending an install guy to come out here on Friday, believe it or not, to install the receiver inside the RV, a DVR version, for free.
How about that?
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of the few things I'm actually going to get that I actually feel, wow, because I was going to spend, I don't know, $40 or $50 to get a receiver, whatever it took to get one, or I've got a couple of old ones that came from. Somebody donated them to me, and I've just got them in boxes. I'm starting to look like Steve from a TV standpoint.
Oh, yeah. I tell you, anybody that wants an old white iMac in torn down condition, please take him. Call me. Because my wife is going to divorce me.
Okay.
I've got to find some place to get rid of them, because they're
rewinding this just a bit. You're speaking of putting an antenna up in the air. Wouldn't the antenna need to be unidirectional? Because normally I'm used to over the air or direct antennas actually having to point directly at the Mount Wilson or what have you. What's the ability beyond that?
Well, the signal would have, I mean, in my case, Robert, it would just be clearing the mountains or wherever you're at. But you're right. In most cases, to really get a decent signal, it would have to be very directional, and you sure as hell couldn't do that with a helium balloon unless you're willing to put motors up there that had little propellers on them that were aiming it in a specific direction all the time. So the idea of me doing that is probably once in a billion. I don't think it's going to happen. So
basically, if the majority of transmitters are on Mount Wilson, but you have some on Sierra Peak, it depends on the channel and where they're located. Now, if you have just a regular antenna, it has a wider receive range. If you get a Yagi, that's one that's tuned to a specific channel, and that's the one that you'll point and has good rejection on everything else. So as far as antenna technology goes, it depends on what the antenna is designed for. But generally, a general antenna will pick up a pretty good area. You don't have to have it pointed exactly at it. It will get some pickup on the side and still have good rejection. So just kind of giving you an idea on that.
Well, my old RV had a CRT in it, so it was non-HD. And it had on the RV world, they call it a bat wing antenna. So you'd get to wherever your location is going to be, and you'd crank the damn thing up because it would stick up a couple of feet above the RV, and then you had a big knob that you would rotate it, or you'd go to, let's say, channel 4, if whatever that happens to be, let's say it's NBC, and you'd manually rotate the antenna around till you got the best possible signal for channel 4. But then when you went to channel 7, unless you were here at unless you were like someplace where they were all grouped like at Mount Wilson, you'd have to manually readjust the antenna for each specific one. The latest trend in the RV world is to go with, especially since they went to HD, is to go with an omnidirectional antenna that sits maybe 8 or 10 inches above the roof, no higher than the air conditioner, so that the air conditioner is still the highest point on your roof. And it's like a round saucer-like shape kind of a deal. And there's nothing to adjust. You either get a signal or you don't get a signal. But but the good part is when you get a signal, you get a really good signal. That's the good part about it. Because HD seems to be all or nothing. It's very rare that you'll get dropout occasionally, but it's very rare that you get a crappy looking signal. You just don't get a signal. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, well, see, the other thing is on that too, different channels have different effective radiated power. In other words, probably the worst channel for radiated power is channel 7. Because sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't, because I'm limited to having my antenna in the attic. So, but most of the time, I don't watch much on channel 7 anyway, but you know, most of the other channels, I've got probably, like you said, there's 156 channels that I've got tuned in, but probably 100 of them are garbage. So,
so it does seem like I put something up in the air.
At least you're not paying for the garbage.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're paying for Uverse or whatever, I mean, I got 150 channels or whatever it is off my cable, and maybe there's 20 that I really give a rat's ass about, and so you're basically supplementing you're paying the tab for those other guys to be around, and you know, up to a point I really don't care, but there does get to be I mean, for whatever reason, Dish decided to take Hallmark and Hallmark movies and separate the two. So Hallmark came with the basic U200 package, and Hallmark movies, which is of course what my wife wanted, came with the 300 package. But at least direct, well, now it's direct and Uverse are the same now. At least they had the option for me to call them up and say, look, I'd like to be able to get Hallmark movies as well, but I don't want to bump all the way up to the 300. And so it cost me like an extra $1 or $1.30 a month or whatever it is, just to get that one extra channel. So that was something unique that they offered us about 2 years ago. So I think you can cherry pick some of that now. Not a whole bunch, but you can do some of it.
Well, what happened to me, and I really, really am extremely angry. I mean, I like Cox for their internet and stuff, but there's a lot of people down here, and I've seen we have a thing called Nextdoor, which is like a email server kind of thing for things in a certain neighborhood or in a certain area down here. And Cox has done this is, okay, you can get, your service, but the tiers are not divided correctly. That should be, like Robert said, or Greg said, that you don't need Spanish channels, you don't need Japanese channels, you're not going to use them. Why don't they make those a separate tier for those that use it? And then we don't pay as much. And then the other thing is, since we went to digital signals now, I cannot go to my outlets in the house that I paid extra to have put in every room and every place else that I wanted it, and plug in a TV to watch just the basic channels. It's basically like you have to rent a box that started out at $1, and now it's $3 per month per TV. And it's just, I just can't see why somebody hasn't taken them to task on that, because
well, the problem with that is, Steve, is the content providers are the ones who dictate that to the companies that put on the content that we watch. They say, okay, if this content, you have to show this stuff. they have that in the contract with them.
Oh.
That's the problem why they put all this garbage in there, because otherwise nobody would watch it and they wouldn't put it on there. The content providers are the ones that write that in their contract for the cable companies and everybody who provides.
Oh, I didn't know that. Boy, that's.
And I think nowadays most of the broadcast channels, especially with the HDs, are required by law to do so much public service crap for free. And so the only way that they can afford to do it is if they get enough revenue off of their pay side type stuff. So I think that's, you know, if PBS goes to, let's say, Uverse and says, well, you know, we got PBS 1, we got PBS 2, we got PBS 3, we got PBS 4, and oh, by the way, it's Swahili cooking on PBS 2, and it's communications between Afghanistan and Pakistan on PBS 3. But the only way they can keep those channels on the air is through their 1 or 2 channels that they actually make revenue off. But the government's requiring them to offer so much quote unquote community service kind of stuff. So I think I kind of wish you had the option to, you know, look down a menu and literally, I mean, the technology exists for us to go through and say, well, you know what? I'm not going to watch any CBS today, so I'd like to not pay for CBS for today. But tomorrow I want to watch CBS, so I'd like to be able to go to the channel that I want to watch, and maybe instantly it starts charging me a dime or whatever it is for every hour that I'm on that particular channel, or a penny, or whatever the hell the price works out to be, so that I'm actually really only paying for actually what I really watch.
Yeah.
And I think it'll get that point I think competitions at some point in time is going to have to come up with some kind of a plan like that at some point in the future. But right now, I think we're at the mercy of everybody. It's just the way it is.
Well, the thing is in our area, or our city, actually, it's all of lower South Orange County is Cox. Why? Because the city councils and the developers said, okay, we're going to sell the rights to put the cable in the ground or the fiber optics in the ground in your neighborhoods. And
somebody has to pay for it, Steve. Somebody has to pay for it.
Yeah, I know.
Why
is it always us?
When Cox was being installed, okay, back then, cities had the right to choose which cable provider they wanted in their city. And if they didn't perform, they could cancel the contract and they'd have to get the hell out. Well, now I understand that. I was just kind of letting you know why that is the way it is with Cox.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. We're not in a pretty place right now. I have 2 sites that I need cable service at. One of them, Spectrum Cable, is wanting to charge me $24,000 worth of construction to put cable there, and at the second site, $29,000.
Oh my God!
It's a simple matter of they're saying, if you want it, pay for it. If you don't want it, no problem. We're the only
businesses.
Business locations, yes, they are.
Yeah, because they weren't pre-wired for that. There's some restaurants that have had to get together in the same, not neighborhood, but the same
block.
And they lump it and they all share it, because none of those, unless you're using DirecTV or something, are wired. Most of the stores or restaurants are not wired, and they're coming afterwards. Like there's a pizza place that has TVs up on the walls, and they allow the children's baseball to bring their videos in and play them after the game to see who did what and all this stuff. And what do? They do that to get people in to buy pizza. But the thing is if they want to get broadcast that is local programming or any of the stuff that I get, they got to pay for it. And it's really, it's not the same. It's not even all the way around. It's just.
Well, the issue is, personally, the issue is AT&T is no longer selling DSL. They they've dropped that option because that runs over their copper, and they're trying to move away from their copper.
Right.
So at these locations, we may have a cable directly across the street, but when cable may be your only real option for reasonable bandwidth at a theoretical reasonable cost on a monthly basis, the cable companies are in a position now that they're just saying, well, here's the cost of. And businesses do need a worthy amount of bandwidth to operate.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Many people, including myself and several businesses that I work with. I think that's just a little bit over the top. And what I guess another point there is that one of the businesses cost, they were saying that they would have to trench across 5 lanes of traffic, do a traffic study and all this kind of stuff. So myself and that I needed to get power to the business location. We cored underneath the street, the 5 lanes of traffic, to be able to get electrical power from the power pole to our location. And during that time, we put in a second 5-inch PVC conduit for the purpose of the cable company, so they didn't have to do it. We absorbed all that cost, and we just put the conduit in there. So when I pointed this out, that we had a pull string inside the business, that pull string went across the lot of our business underneath.
Robert, you keep breaking up.
You keep breaking up. Your audio keeps
up when you're talking.
Yeah, I don't have great. I'm in a lousy location. Am I clear at all? A little bit now, better.
Right now, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, I have a pull string from the business, across the business, down underneath the street, and up to a power pole. And you could pull that string from one side to the other. And the cable company went from $24,000 down to $22,000 after we did all of the work of putting the PVC conduit. So again, they're basically interested in just raping you because they can.
Yep.
We need to table this, everybody, because we had planned for around 10 a.m. for Robert to give us a talk about his experience with his MacBook Pro with the touch bar.
Right.
So,
right.
Robert, go ahead and take over the screen if you'd like to. Be my guest.
Okay. Good. Yes. Well, as most of you may have remembered, the 15-inch Touch Bar Pro, MacBook Pro, with touch bar was my computer of choice when I really recently decided that my 5-year-old computer, the 17-inch, was needed to be set out to pasture, just because repairs and such like that were going to be accumulating, and I needed something reliable and take advantage of the opportunities for speed. The uniqueness of this particular model is the touch bar, and over time, I must admit that there are a few applications that truly do make use of it in any significant way. But one of them happens to be Omni Pro. Omni Pro is a project scheduler application, and one of the things that they have is a Gantt chart, which is typically over a period of time, you'll see bars for different aspects of the project and how they're proceeding and such. Well, certainly that touch bar area, because it is a long rectangle, was a perfect application for this. So they happen, while one might be working up in the upper screen with tasks or calendars or such and that kind of thing, the touch bar is able to be made use of there. I've also seen another application there that for a piano kind of aspect. So again, the long and skinny portion of that touch bar lends itself to being a piano kind of input, running your fingers up and down the piano and all that kind of stuff. In general, if that's the only thing that you might be thinking of, if you're looking, the touch bar came with, if I may, with a few more USB-C ports. The computer only has USB-C ports. 2 of them are Thunderbolt ports as well. Thunderbolt being the fastest method of data transfer and such. the Thunderbolt is the same physical format as the USB-C jack is. So the 4 ports are USB-C to USB-C, and also 2 of those same USB-C ports are also Thunderbolt. It gives you the options for ability to power from any one of the 4 positions, and which makes it kind of convenient that way.
Let me ask you something about that.
Yeah.
They claim you can actually charge, if you have like one of those Mophie battery packs for your iPhone, you could actually use that to charge up your MacBook Pro, since they're both USB-C.
Right. Yeah, I have in fact several, over the time I've acquired several different chargers. Anchor, this one has 1 USB-C and 2 USB. Right, 3. It's an Anchor. I found it to be very nice. Simple power on button kind of thing. We'll charge it up. We'll turn it on. It charges. It has lights to tell you how much charge that it has. Remotely, this will power the computer for 4 or 5 extra hours without a problem. Charge the phone 4 or 5 times, all that kind of stuff. So if you're going to be off in remote, a battery is a very handy item. What I found more interesting and potentially, I haven't taken it to the point of checking it out though, is my bag of tricks for my dongle.
The dongle bag.
The dongle bag, yes. Because in that dongle bag, I have lots of these RJ45 to USB, and I've got the Anchor, and I've got the OACC, and I've got the Energy.
Now, why so many different brands?
And unreliability.
Really?
Yes. The OACC, the Anchor seems to be about the best. It has 3 lights on the front when it is plugged in. One for connectivity. What do we call that? A single light there is. Anyways, one for connectivity. One is for power. One is for when you have a connectivity between 2 devices. What's the word I'm looking for, Greg? And then one for data transmission. What's that?
I said synchronous or
a link. Okay, a link light. One's power, one's a link light. Light, and then you have the data. The Anchor happens to be the most reliable, but when it doesn't work, I'll switch over and try my Energy or try my OACC. And amongst the 3 of them, I usually can get connectivity. In my world, unfortunately, I am still often in a situation where I need to use Cat5 cables. In fact, I still have one of my orange crossover cables because just so happens you do need those.
Well, that works for a PC, but it'll work because PCs have to use a crossover cable, but the crossover capability is built into a Mac, so any cable will work for a Mac.
Sometimes. In fact, sometimes I actually specifically do need a crossover cable. It will not work without a crossover cable. Just an FYI. Yes.
Something in the cable. Oh, that's interesting.
Correct. Yes. And so I just want to share that for those of you that may get involved from time to time. If you see something specifically require a crossover cable, do not be surprised if in fact they're telling the truth.
Have to use that. If you look at the cable,
right?
Steve, go ahead.
It's basically if you go and look at the connector, the clear connector for the RJ45, you will see that they've changed positions on 2 wires.
Yeah,
That's
2 and 3.
the difference. Why they cross over. But the thing is I remember way back the start of the Macintosh where we had to use the crossover cable to get anything to work right. But now Apple's updated and made all the changes.
Just sharing. If it says Cat5 or crossover and it doesn't work with your Mac, try a crossover. They may be telling the truth. Another device that I've had to acquire, but certainly is not in my world all that negative. Is a USB-C to it has a standard USB 3, HDMI, and a C contingent pass-through. So the bag of dongles and all that kind of stuff is has added up. My single to a double, one for port, one for a sound. But I don't regret in any way the USB-C aspects of it. We're moving forward. We'll be using dongles less and less as the other end allows for USB-C. I do believe it's going to be the path. It hasn't been as fast as I or many may have believed, but I do think we're going there. One aspect on this MacBook Pro Touch Bar that I'm not necessarily happy with is the arrow keys. The up and down arrow keys are quite close together, and I like to use the up and down arrow keys to navigate through my email sometimes, and it's not easy to tell which key you're on quite as easy as it was in the past. Otherwise, overall, I'm actually quite happy with it. It allowed me to step up and have the more recent processors. I'm kind of a little bit thankful that they haven't stepped all over it with a whole new generation of processor families and all that kind of stuff. It's certainly not fun to buy into something and then find it just has been stepped beyond within a short period of time.
Hey,
But
Robert, what
yes,
year
sir.
is your MacBook? This your new Mac?
This is the one that came out last October, November.
Thank you.
And so here we are now. We're about a year into it, and it has settled down. There's nothing that I feel pretty clear and confident and comfortable with it through most any aspect. I believed I would be missing in that not having the 17-inch, and that's true. I would like there's times I do miss just that little bit of extra real estate, but I figured out, my eyes a little, get a new pair of glasses, updated pair of glasses, it's all fine because you have a higher resolution, which theoretically means you have more on the screen, but it's smaller. And so that's a compromise.
Let me point something out, Robert. You can, if you've got an iPad, you can do it with an iPhone too, but it's kind of pointless. You can, if you've got an iPad, get a little piece of software that's written by former Apple employees called Duet. It's like $15. You physically cable your iPad to your Macintosh, then you have a Duet app on the iPad and a Duet app on the Mac. You start it up on the Mac, then you turn it on the iPad, and it either mirrors or extends your real estate. So I find it like working with Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer, which I'm playing with right now. It's great because I can move all the palettes over that. I can stand that up in a vertical mode, so it's not quite as big a height-wise, but resolution-wise, you get some choices of resolution, and it works seamlessly across. And since it's cabled, because there were some Bluetooth versions of this available to be able to do the same thing, but I found the Bluetooth ones were flaky. But with a cable, not only is the iPad being charged at the same time, but it's making that visual connectivity. And it's another way of getting extra use out of your iPad when you're using your Mac. So the idea behind it is really great. That just so happens that this particular iPad that I've got has a case that's got a folding cover on it. So it kind of stands by itself pretty well. But I've come across several little devices, and I ran across this one right here, which looks like an instrument of torture, but it folds open and it has little legs that pop up. If I can get my fingers here going. And then this thing stands like a little tripod, almost looks like a metronome a little bit, like a little frame tripod or whatever it is for the iPad to stand on, either a horizontal or a vertical mode, yet it takes up no space in a bag when you collapse it up. And that works really great. I mean, I find it works. I'm not using it this morning because I had left the iPad upstairs in my wife brought it down to me a few minutes ago. But that works like a champ for, if you're like me, you're missing that extra 2 inches of real estate. Really made a difference. I got used to the 15-inch, but now I have the option of, since I carry the iPad with me, not all the time, but a lot of the time, I can just put it right inside the bag, and I've got that extra screen real estate if I want to run another app separately on it. A lot of times I'll run the Affinity Photo demos on that so that I don't have to use a command tab to switch back and forth. And I'll watch the demo and I'll pause it, and then I'll do what I'm doing here. Then I'll watch the demo and then I'll pause it. So I have to admit that's a really interesting way of getting some extra utilization and another screen for all practical purposes out of for your Mac.
In general, I'm typically mobile. I'm moving around a lot and all that kind of stuff, and so having to set up.
We lost your sound again.
You don't hear me at all, or breaking in and out?
Intermittently,
right now.
go out when you're
Okay.
talking.
Yeah, I'm in a lousy area. I apologize. I going down that path. I don't have the ability. It's not as convenient to have one larger screen than to have to set up a second iPad when you're attempting to be mobile and move around. I do have the iPad Pro that I enjoy, and with a keyboard, which is quite nice. It has the Logitech stand in the back that is able to fold down and keep that up if I would just want to use just the screen. But with the keyboard, this truly is a significant size and extension. So, Greg, I will look into the Duet, because the iPad Pro along with the 15, you can't ask for more screen space than that.
Not really.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
You were showing us before your little bag of tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Your Ziploc.
Right. Yep.
Look for this. Hang on a second. Let me get this on the screen. This is called a cocoon. And
It's like Dr. Frankenstein's torture package.
Yeah. And it's called Cocoon, and I picked it up over at Micro Center in the tray of closeouts and stuff. I don't remember what it was, but it was cheap enough, and I've got everything I need there, except when Larry Geiger brought over his 6500, which is an old tower, and it had this kind of connector, which is 15-pin 2 lines. Well, the thing is the monitor I have on my workbench is either VGA or not HDMI, the
SVGA.
The VGA, but then there's that other one that's multi-lined, and I've topped me, I can't remember the words because the old brain,
DVI.
Yes, thank you, Frank. And so here I have a converter that I used to use when I worked on those quite a bit. And I just left them in the drawer. And when Larry came over and I says, oh God, how am I going to do this? And basically I pulled out one similar to this. This one is programmable, that you can select which switches connect what wires. But these things are godsend. If you ever run into a problem, Robert or I have almost everything.
I do have devices that require this kind of input only, and that to a USB is what it takes to operate in our world.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of legacy requirements for a long, long time, and when you get to go out and have fun with old type of stuff, you just can't get away with it. And you do end up with that little bag of that cocoon bag. I'm happy to see that, Steve, somewhat organized.
Robert, does that work, the USB to VGA on PCs? Because I know you work on both.
Yes, exactly this. That is where it's expecting a serial port from a PC to be able to connect to the devices. So there's no question about that. That's the point.
Now, Robert, there's two issues that I've read over the year now here regarding the new MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar. One is a lot of people were used to the touch feeling of the actual function keys, and you don't get that. Although why Apple didn't put little ridges, maybe as a, just like little raised bumps or something, so you could kind of figure out, well, this would effectively be where F4 would be, and this is where F5 would be. And the second issue is the amount of travel in the actual keyboard keys itself. A lot of people gripe about that. They don't feel, in Apple's infinite wisdom of trying to make everything thinner, smaller, and lighter, they changed the way the spring mechanisms work underneath the keys, and a lot of people gripe that there's not enough travel there.
Greg, if I'm not mistaken, the keys, those optional keys, are basically almost like an iPad. They don't move. Robert, am I saying that right?
No, they have a spring mechanism underneath them.
The touch bar on the MacBook Pro, those move, or is it just like touching an iPad?
No, that one, Steve, that one is a video display. For all practical purposes, that touch bar is a miniature video display. I'm talking about regular keys on the keyboard.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, the regular keys. The thing that they should have done, but then again, it adds a heck of a lot of cost to it, would be to, on the iPhone, where you could say, okay, when I touch the keys, make a beep, or touch the keys and vibrate, underneath it. It would be too costly. It would add too much cost to it. Yeah, Robert.
I did miss out on a bit of words there.
Go ahead.
The keyboard, given that one's working on a MacBook Pro, a thinner type of design, I naturally dropped some of the expectations of the pleasure of the clickety-clack keyboards that one might have had on a desktop machine with the separate keyboard and all that kind of stuff. Certainly, we can add those. We can add a keyboard, carry around a accessory Bluetooth keyboard, and that sort of thing. But I can't say I would rate the keyboard as top of the line for ease of use and all that kind of stuff. I've learned over time that my needs for safeguarding. Yeah.
Now your video just stalled as well.
Whereas I caring less about my weight, but the overall sensitivity of the keyboard, I wouldn't rate it an A. But we have to have compromises in this world, and not everything is going to be the best of the best. It just doesn't. I compromise a little bit on the size of the screen, compromise a little bit on the size of the keyboard, but in total, I don't think there's a better machine out there. Reliability, feature-wise, and all of that. I appreciate the backboard and that sort of thing. There's enough good there that I don't think there's anything better. So that
anything better that'll run Mac OS.
Well, and even there's no better machine that in the Windows world as well. Because what we're looking for is we're looking for lightweight. We're looking for thin. Thin is nice because it is weight. I mean, ultimately, it's weight that we're carrying around.
The one thing, Robert, is I find like I go over to Costco or Best Buy, and I see these Windows machines, and you can follow them right back to Apple's products. I mean, when I saw the new HP all-in-one desktop, I says, God, it's an iMac. What are they doing? Doesn't anybody have any creativity anymore?
Well, I don't hold it against the company for copying the best of, but it's usually a generation or two behind.
Yeah.
You don't have, on one hand, one can say that you have all of the different kinds of ports, but you don't have the flexibility that you have when you get all one type, where you can plug in your power any place, you can plug in your whatever kinds of stuff. If it needs to come from the right side or the left side, you've got it. You have those options, and a lot of times it cuts down on cable management and all that kind of stuff. Things to reach. So I'm generally happy. I'm sure I can make better use of it, but sometimes you just got to get the job done and move on.
Yeah.
Robert,
there we go.
Do you have for your new MacBook Pro? Do you have any of those? Like the little Belkin adapter that plugs into the USB-C and gives you the multi-ports coming out of it. You know what I'm talking about? They look like the little silver adapter that butts up against the side of the unit itself rather than a dongle itself?
No, I'm not a dock of sorts.
A dock, yes.
Right. No, I've not opted to do that. I do actually have on order. I'll be receiving shortly a USB dock that I actually am going to attach to something along the side of my desk, such that because I do have lots of things that need to be charged USB, and but I've not had the need for anything like that because I am such a mobile person at this time with regard to use my computer.
You know, down there at the bottom, Bob, can you hear me? Well, Bob down here at the bottom, he's got a mute on. But I was trying to figure out what the heck is he doing? He's doing his bicycling, recumbent bicycle that I have to do over at cardiac rehab.
That is correct. I'm on a stationary bike.
It's cool because last month I was sitting at Fashion Island doing my responsibility to, come and participate. And you see these people are doing everything. It's cool.
So if there's no specific question on Mac, mention some of the HomePod, Apple's HomePod, their smart speaker that they've been anticipated to ship in the end of the year. By the end of the year here, they've, as many of you may know, that got delayed off until the first part of next year. The smart speaker market has blown up, and tremendous amount of smart speakers out there. People are really making great use of them.
Robert, you say smart speakers. What does that entail? Like the Google or the, what's her name? The
Echo, the Dot. The Alexa is technology within a speaker. You have the Dot, you have the Echo, you have the Sonos, and these speakers have incorporated the Alexa technology within them to allow them to be smart, to be able to make use of the speaker and the microphone, and to provide information in the same way you might have your phone of a certain generation that you can just say, "Hey Siri," and the phone will wake up and will listen to you and respond. I just said that now, and my phone, in fact, Siri did jump up and started listening.
And now it's translating everything you say.
And so the speakers that using the Alexa technology are of that same type. They're typically used in a home, in a kitchen, in a living room, or that kind of thing. And they're smart in that, they can do the, what's the score? What's the Dodgers score right now? What's the weather like in New York? And they will respond. They're
dumbing us down, I'll tell you.
They are. And seeing that the HomePods were delayed to 2018, I had most of these speakers that are out there are of a low quality. And so those that were smart, you could have a smart speaker but a low quality, or you could have a high quality speaker without smarts.
Right.
And the recently Sonos, SONOS, has released what is called the Sonos One, which is not the Sonos Play One, but the Sonos One. Leave the word play out. And Sonos makes an excellent quality speaker. They've incorporated the Alexa into it. So Sonos One was, in my opinion, the first intelligent, excellent sounding speaker out there. You can use it individually, or you can get a second and have stereo. I did check this one out. I obtained a couple of these, and not wanting to wait for the HomePod, which I might pick up at a later date after I check it out. But point is, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, which can be for fun or can be for useful, Sonos One is the one to check out. interestingly, a side item from this is what I found is some older people who are living alone really enjoy someone to talk to.
Yeah,
and
like
the Alexa
you.
can be that person. That Alexa, I've so know some senior citizens that they'll just have fun with it. Tell me a joke, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a voice, it's a responsive type of thing, and it's just a little bit of pleasure. So, as you may know, older senior citizens who are old and cranky, this might be something that might make their life just a little bit more interesting. And I've really seen a lot of appreciation
You just
from some
insulted
seniors.
everybody, Robert.
I'm having fun with it.
Somebody said, we said at one of the meetings years and years ago, we look at ourselves and we're a bunch of gray hairs, and we were all dark haired and stuff. It was just crazy.
The Q-tips are now not all in the audience. They're
Well,
up in the
thing
dime.
is when I'm working, or I was helping out over at Leisure World until they booted me to their Mac group, I mean. And the thing is I mention seniors, and then I say I are one now.
So in general, there's some great solutions out there. The Alexa happens to, which is made by Amazon. Their software development kit, or SDK, allows programmers to develop skills, and a skill adds a capability for the Alexa to interact with a particular company's needs and such. And I happen to, in one of the companies I work with, we're going to be developing an Alexa skill to allow customers to interact at a gas station in an automated way.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, just, every company is just trying to be a little bit friendlier, easier use, and that sort of thing. And, it gets you a little bit of media attention, and certainly every company wants to get noticed. So you'll see there's a new restaurant that's just come out that allows the customers to order using Alexa. And because it's smart, you'll say, I want a double burger, and the response is, would you like cheese on that? Yes. Would you like bacon, and that kind of thing, and you could say no lettuce, no tomato, and it understands these commands. So, while on one hand, we're all frustrated when we spend 5 minutes on a telephone auto answered service by a company to get through to a tech support or whatever it may be, press 5 for this, or press that for that, and go around and around. It's inevitable. And so, the smart companies are trying to make use of them. And in my particular case, the companies are only using them for the purpose of moving forward and appearing to be a more friendly service. We're not trying to eliminate people. We're trying to make it easier for people to get what they want quickly. So,
Robert,
just throwing that out there.
Can you talk a little bit about the iPhone X and what your experience with that has been? And has it
Absolutely.
been hard to get used to not having a home button, a physical home button?
The home button I thought would be a problem, but to move about, if you want to go home, it's just to swipe up from anywhere you go. If I'm over a couple of screens and want to get back the first one, again, a swipe up. The home button is the least of the issues.
What about trying to get to Control Center? Because that used to be a swipe up on the existing iPhones.
The Control Center now is as easy as the upper left corner gets you to the Control Center.
That looks even easier.
Yes. The other corner will take you to the Notification Center. So accessing things is not the problem. The problem is learning the differences. A screenshot is the side button and the top button,
11:30.
which now takes a screenshot, puts it down in the lower corner, and learning the differences. And that's in fact part of why I get new technologies, because I'm trying to learn the differences rather than being a customers and them having something and me go, wow, how'd you do that? But one of the neat things, I don't know if how many people may have gotten to the to updating to 11.2, but Apple has recently in 11.2 they added Apple Pay. Apple Pay is part of Messages, Cash Pay, and in Messages you can send somebody money directly from one iMessage to another iMessage, and it gets deposited into your checkbook or your debit card or whatever that you have attached to your Apple ID. It's free, doesn't cost you a penny, and each person on the receiving and sending side must have the 11.2, and each person must have Apple Pay set up. This will be something that certainly will take time. It's not going to happen immediately, but you know, you have right now, you have Cash and you have Square and you have PayPal and all of those sorts of things. Some charge a percentage, some don't. The best way is to attach them to debit cards. You're essentially assured of minimal cost or no cost if you're using a debit card. If you're using a credit card, don't be surprised if they're going to charge you a small percentage. But it makes it very easy. You go out to a restaurant and you're going to pick up the bill. The others are going to pay you back. It's easy to make a request. I could request, you know, $12.80 from Greg and $6.40 from Steve after I picked up the bill, and I send them a message through iMessage, and they and their iMessage just approve it, and it transfers money back and forth. It's the absolute tremendous ease of use that some people need.
Have you tried it? You tried it personally?
I have. It's very nice. When I am in
hang on.
Yeah. When you're in iMessage,
go ahead, Robert. Sorry. Now we're not hearing anything, Robert.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, I'm unmuted. But you know, you go into Messages, you go into a person, and there'll be an Apple Pay button down there, and so you click on that Apple Pay, and it brings up the, you know, you enter the amount, you press the pay, and it transfers. In this particular case, the person is not set up yet for Apple Pay, but it's a very, very, very easy way, no cost, to move money around back and forth. I have a business that I consult with that regularly has to make payments to people they've never ever met before. And these are ways to easily pay people cash instantaneously. It's the way we're going. I see no issues and problems with it. I'm very, very, very excited by it.
How does it doesn't use, since you don't have a home button anymore, it doesn't use your thumbprint or your fingerprint anymore. It uses facial recognition.
Correct.
At the time to approve it.
That's right. That's right. It's recognizing, you know, you've yes. And when it doesn't, should it not have facial recognition, you can go through and use your codes. So, you know, it's just the absolute ease and no cost to move money around is something that this is going to become as popular as Apple Pay is at the terminals and businesses, because you know, every once in a while will allow us to equalize ourselves. It's not a big deal to owe and pay people. I'm loving it. I'm thinking the opportunities of making good use of this stuff are large.
Great.
So, yep.
Cool.
Any other questions here on technology? I've been blessed with having a bit of it.
Have you heard anything about a new Mac Mini or the new iMac Pro or any new MacBooks coming out in the next few months?
You know, all of that just has been really slow moving forward. They're coming, but I'm sorry to say that they've all been delayed significantly more than what we thought. I don't really have anything new to add on those areas, unfortunately. I've recently had to purchase Mini, and lack of a new one shipping, I've purchased older technology, if you will. It was last updated the Minis 3-4 years ago at best. So I don't have anything new on that angle. Sorry to say. Anybody else interested in any kind of other technologies here? Because I've been playing around.
Yeah, if you want to ask a question of Robert, you'll need to unmute if you haven't already done it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were just hearing too much. We were just hearing too much background noise coming from somebody out there, and I couldn't tell. So it's just easier when we got somebody doing the primary speaking on a presentation or something like that to mute everybody and then let you manually unmute when you want to ask a question. So please go ahead.
On Echo.
Yeah.
My wife's friend was given one by her daughter, and raved about it and insisted my wife get it, who is not a tech person. And she did. But now this lady doesn't use it anymore, and the reason is that it cannot translate her British accent.
It is surprising. I know that sales of these have gone through the roof in worldwide. So I'm not familiar with issues of language problems or accents. I haven't heard of that type of thing, and so no particular answer on that.
Might also, Robert, have the deal that ALU, they might not handle it in the same way. Some of the words are even different to mean this certain things, but I thought they got accustomed to the accents and stuff, and then would get better over time.
Well, yeah. I'm not familiar with that. I hadn't heard that as an issue. But certainly because Amazon servers and Google servers, Google has their own set of smart speakers. They've all certainly have the capacity to handle multiple languages and various terms, if you will, different word usage. So can't say anything. I haven't heard any problems in that respect. Sorry. Any other thoughts on technologies, new ones? Or any items that people think that I should go ahead and check out and add to a collection for evaluation or such?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have an iMac that's 10 years old.
Okay.
I'm getting lots of, it's getting slow and a lot of the beach ball. I yesterday found on Groupon an iMac for $369, and what do you think my chances are of having a good one? Of course, I believe in refurbished, because they go back to the factory, they take care of what's wrong with it, and they come back to you with a 1-year warranty, just like out of the box. So,
right. Who are you receiving it from? There is a place called Gainsaver in Signal Hill, and all their stuff has, let's say, refurbished on them, but it's not factory refurbished. They only give you a 90-day warranty or something like that. And if you looked up the serial number that you were receiving, what happens is they take and downgrade them and charge you for the upgrade. So if it came with 64 megs of RAM and you want 128 or whatever, they charge you for that. They charge you for this. And so the best place I have found was Apple stores or Apple online, where you can order it, it's delivered to your doorstep, and if you can get to your doorstep before the porch pirates do, then you'll have it and you get it. And what I did for the last person that said they were going to do that, I says, whatever you do, it was, my friend down in Dana Point, and he wanted to get a new iPad, no, not iPad, MacBook Air for himself, and I says, don't forget to get the Apple Care. You can use it, you don't use it, but I tell you, if you need it and you don't have it, you're screwed.
Right. This is coming directly from Groupon. I've bought a whole bunch of stuff from Groupon. I can return it with no questions asked and paid for. So
Groupon, beware though. Groupon is just an agent for other sellers. Groupon, the word Groupon does not in any way, shape, or form convey a level of quality or that such. You will find the extreme range of quality, the extreme range of economical or best pricing and such, because the variety of quality. I personally would be somewhat questioning the thought of the true meaning of the word rebuilt. Even through Groupon, pardon me?
It's refurbished.
Refurbished, I would question that. It distinctly has little value in its wording on its own. If I was going to be wanting to save money, and I was accepting of refurbished, personally, I would go the Apple route. I would go the Apple refurbished. You have a guarantee of who's standing behind the word refurbished, and there's a true definition, understood, mutually agreed definition of what that means.
I agree. I've always bought from Apple refurbished. The last two laptops I bought that way, you save about 15% on average off of the retail price with the same warranty. And what people need to understand is, at least in California, if I sell you something, whether you open the box or not, I can't, and you bring it back, by law, I can't resell it as a brand new item, even if it's never been opened. It has to be sold as quote unquote refurbished. Apple gives the same full warranty. You almost have an advantage with refurbished, because whereas if they're making, if we got a MacBook Pro run today, and we're making over the next month, we're making, let's say, 1 million MacBook Pros, they're only going to spot check maybe 1 out of every 100 or so to see if it's working properly, because they just don't have the time. However, if it comes back from an individual or from a company to be sold as refurbished, they individually check that one item because they don't want to have to hassle with it coming back again. So I've had extremely good luck in buying stuff refurbished from Apple. And one thing I ran across when I bought this particular 15-inch MacBook Pro that I've got now, which is coming up on 5 years old, when I bought it, I went through and I cherry-picked the one that I wanted. I wanted the price difference between a 512 solid-state drive and a 768 was ridiculous. It was like $300 more, which I didn't think it was worth it, so I went with a 512. They both had i7 chips in them. One was a 2.5 gigahertz, and then they also had it for $200 more, the 2.7 gigahertz. And I wanted it with 16 gigs of RAM because since it wasn't user upgradable, I wanted to make sure that I had everything in there. Well, it just so happens at the time Apple went to ship it, they didn't have any of the 2.5 gigahertz available. So they give you the next best option free of charge. That's just their policy because they already made a commitment to you. So I ended up getting the i7 2.7 gigahertz, slightly faster chip with the 16 gigs of RAM and with the 500 gig solid state drive for the same price as the 2.5 gigahertz worth. That was enough to convince me right there and then that's the way to go, is to get Apple. Now, there's an exception to the rule. I wanted to get my wife a newer laptop. Hers was one of the old black MacBooks, not a Pro. And I wanted to get her one that could at least use the same operating system as mine, so that we could at least be compatible from that standpoint. Because hers was about 5 operating systems behind. She was using it primarily for email and web search. She spends a lot of time on the web. I mean, much more time than I do. So I couldn't find anything that was 4 or 5 years old that was of any value, that was of any deal for me through Apple. Usually they don't have stuff that old around. They've usually shipped it off somewhere else. So I looked in 2 different places that I will give high credit to, and one is Mac of all trades. I've had really good luck with that, and the other one is Otherworld Computing, or sometimes called Mac Sales.
Yes.
I ended up buying her a 15-inch MacBook Pro, a Pro, believe it or not. It was about 6 years old or 7 years old, but it's current enough that it can still use, and it has a spinning drive in it. It has 4 gigs of RAM, which was fine. It was, but it's a 15-inch, and it uses all the same operating systems that my MacBook Pro does. And so she's got a Pro. She's got that. I think I paid $658 for it, and have been extremely happy with it. And they gave I think a 90-day or a 6-month warranty on it, whatever it was. It's refurbished. How much they actually go back and look at these things, I have no idea. But there were no visible dents or dings on it. It came with all the manuals. They tell you exactly up front exactly what you're going to get or not going to get with it. And in most cases, they've put it in there. I mean, it had a slightly different. It had a power supply that it had probably the tip removed because it probably broke, and somebody had put a brand new tip on it. But she's had it for over a year and it's been working fine. So I have nothing against buying refurb product at all. And like I said, if you bought it from a major reputable agency who deals with that stuff all the time, like in the case of Other World Computing or Mac of All Trades, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't know what your feeling is, Robert and Steve, but I think this is the only way to go, and you're saving at least some depreciation up front.
Yeah, as I said, I'm thinking for computers and such. The only ones that really have any clue for its quality, for its condition, and that sort of thing is to go Apple refurbished. It's just I think the discount there is worthy. The quality is excellent, and you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put from Groupon. You can find you can find all the crap you want to buy, and Groupon is just an agent, an intermediary for a buyer and a seller.
Right.
Steve did mention one thing that I think is of interest. Steve talked about search thieves from deliveries and such. Amazon Key is a new option. Amazon is offering. You install a camera in your home, and Amazon gets a key to your house, and that key is able to be used with a lock. That key is able to be used only at the time the driver is at that location, tracked via the Amazon delivery system, and the cameras automatically go on before the door is able to be unlocked. Cameras go on. The driver uses the key, opens the door, places the package inside, closes the door behind, and the camera records from beginning to end. Fascinating new service. And
you do have another option with Amazon. Amazon has what they also call Amazon Locker. And,
yes, I was going to say that.
They're located all over the country. All major cities have them, and it'll be like near a PO box, or sometimes it's at a post office. Rented some space for it, and they'll give you you'll get a email notification. You'll get a code on the email. The item sits there for 3 days maximum before it gets returned back. And there's various size boxes depending on the size of the pack. Now there is a limit to it. If you're going to try to get an iMac in there, I don't think you'd be able to get one in there. But you could definitely get a laptop. And you've got 3 days to show up and put in your unique code to unlock that one specific box and take the item out. That's one option. The second option, especially with Apple, is you can have any refurb shipped to any store, and then you can go to the store and pick it up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I distinctly am fully aware of the UPS losses from front porches, and I find it's an option.
Robert. I follow that on Channel 7 every day. I hear the same damn thing. And these people that are stealing them, they can see the camera up at the corner and they still do it. And
sure.
It's
which is interesting.
Let me tell you one that's even weirder than that, because I follow a lot of the RV industry stuff since we're starting to get back into it, especially up in the northern states in Washington, Oregon, Idaho. At RV parks, the new trend now is to go into the RV park, and on trailers that have the front-mounted batteries on their hitch, is to steal the batteries, believe it or not. I can't imagine anybody going through that hassle to steal a damn a 12-volt or a 6-volt battery.
It's ridiculous.
It's sad. Along that path, you know, where thieves are going up to homes and recognizing that they don't care. Who the heck knows who they are by face? They don't live in this area. They won't feel that they're going to be recognized. Let me say that there's a significant amount of sheriff's departments and such throughout the country that are now using facial recognition in a far bigger way than they used to. Anybody that has gone through the system, through the penal system at all, has had their face in the databases. And if anybody's ever been arrested, they're now being used for facial recognition, which is stepped up in big ways for accuracy and capability. So thieves are going to be having a harder time using the technology. I mean, we're all aware that within our Photos app, we have a low quality, if you will, facial recognition, even though it's Apple, and that our Photos app can segregate and collectively put all of the pictures of the same person. It can tell one person from another, and what the FBI and other agencies of that sort are using is many steps and generations beyond that, believe it or not. So I think we're going in the right direction for putting down crime.
Yeah, you know, it's really a bummer, Robert. When we bought this house, and it's almost 17 years ago, I can't believe, 1999 we moved in. I paid extra for a Wireworks package where you can tell them where you want outlets in the house and what is on the outlet, like it needs 4 Ethernet ports and TV ports. And so I had the house wired for analog with a coax RG6 and a Ethernet cable RJ5. I mean,
whatever.
The Cat5. And I had planned and I had bought the cameras, the recorder and everything. And now I can't get up to put them in 17 years later. And it's like my wife says, get rid of this stuff. It's taking up space. It's you know, it's now been outdated by the digital stuff. So it's like crap.
Yep. Keeping up is part of the good or the bad, however you want to look at it, taking advantage of new technology or not. Certainly.
Okay. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate your time. Hope you can hang on with a little longer. John Foley. John, are you still awake? You need to unmute yourself. Or I will do it for you.
Talk a little bit about the iPhone 8 because we just bought, let's see, hold on. I guess I'm still unmuted. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
can you hear me?
You're good.
Okay. T-Mobile back in the 1st of December, I think it was December 2nd, had a buy one, get one free. So I thought, oh boy, that can't pass that up. So I've upgraded our iPhone 6s to iPhone 8s. And there's a couple of nice things about it, and there's just a couple of things that are just the same as any other iPhone. One of the things that I really like about the iPhone 8 is that it turns on about twice as fast as any phone I've ever had.
Oh yeah,
it really turns on fast.
And
then the other thing I like about it is it can be charged with inductive coupling.
Oh, cool.
The iPhone 8 has a glass back on it. And because of that, you can use, for instance, I got one of these things right here. This is an inductive coupler. And it says it's a QI compatible. Now these things
they call that Qi because it's too hard to pronounce what you would call the Q.
Okay.
So it's pronounced Qi like CHI.
But I found this one for $9.95 at Walmart, and it does a great job. So I bought 2 of them, one for 1 bedroom and one for my office. So that's really nice that you can just plop the phone down on the coupler and it charges for it. It charges you up, you know, and like I say, it's...
Does it seem to charge as fast, John, or is it a little slower?
No, I'd say it charges about the same as if you plug it in. if I was down to 90%, for instance, I'd say within 10 minutes it's back up to 100%.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised. I mean, for $10, I thought, well, I'll try one of these and see how good it works, because they had a couple other ones on the rack up there for $45 and $50, and so I said, well, I'm not going to spend that much money. So I bought this for $9.95 or whatever it is, and
the iPhone 8 though comes with a regular Lightning USB charger, right?
No.
A regular cable. Does it come with a regular Lightning cable to charge with?
Probably
no,
not.
it comes with a mini USB cable, I believe.
Okay.
So anyway, trying to think of what else I could say about it, but I really was getting tired of the iPhone 6s because they were getting a little slow with iOS 11 and all that stuff. But the new phones. The other thing I can tell you about is the last time I bought a case for my iPhone 6s, I bought one of these life-proof ones, and they were like almost $95. I found these things by OUNNE, I guess you call it. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Pull back, John.
Yeah, pull back a little bit, John. Oh,
but these are waterproof cases, they're dustproof cases, all that stuff. They're not exactly the prettiest thing in the world, but the point is they are waterproof, and they were $19.99 on Amazon. So I bought a couple of those. One for my wife has the Plus, and I have just the regular phone. Did you want me to do something with this?
Well, you were going to talk about your issue that you were having with ringtones, trying to get
that's right. That's right.
iPhone 6 to the iPhone 8, and what Mickey Mouse thing you had to do. Now, I've since looked up. iMore has a good article on supposedly how to do it, and they talk about the things that were missing that you were. But you go ahead, and then we'll try to recap with some of the other options that were out there.
Okay. Well, I had ringtones on my iPhone 6s, and
were these purchased ringtones or custom made ringtones?
No, I custom made these out of some songs.
Okay.
So at first I tried to make them again, and I was like, no, I didn't like it. I bought a thing called Ringtone Pro, I think it was. And the problem I found out was that all of these ringtone things like to put them in the apps folder on your iTunes. And now the new iTunes with 12.7 don't have the apps folder anymore.
Yeah, that's stupid.
They want you to use the App Store thing for your apps things and get it out of the way of the iTunes thing. So it frustrated me for 2 or 3 days, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I finally found this thing called, let's see if I can find the name of it now. I told you what it was.
Copy.
Huh?
Touch Copy.
Yeah, Touch Copy.
And it's about $30 to buy, but you get a 20-day trial with it.
You get 100 uses for free.
Is that what it is? Okay, all right.
Yeah. So it didn't take long. So what I did was from Ray Bell to everyone. Okay, who's that?
Ray's just sending a message. That's all.
Okay. So anyway, all I had to do was plug my iPhone 6 in, run this Touch Copy, and it copied my my ringtone from the phone that I had it on the 6 over to a file on my desktop. Then I plugged my iPhone 8 in and brought it up and got to the tones area and drug that into the tones area, and I had my ringtone back. So that was pretty simple once I figured that out.
Cool.
But beware, iPhones, the iTunes 12.7 does take some stuff away from you, supposedly because of DRM stuff. That's what I heard.
John, what have you? Why are you most happy that you went to the 8? What did it offer you?
Well, I really like the fact that it is chargeable by setting it on this charger. Because the back of it is glass, and this case that I got also is pretty thin. If you get a thick case, it won't work. I had another case that I was going to try to use. It had a battery inside of it and it lit LEDs up, and I went, I don't care about that. But these things work real great. So that's really, in the fact that it starts up about twice as fast as my 6 did. So, but other than that, it's just you know, it's just an iPhone and it works great. And
Cool.
Well, you
So
know
how
what?
come your wife ended up with the 8 Plus and you ended up with the 8, or was that your decision?
no, that's what we had with the 6s.
I see.
She had the Plus and I had the regular one.
Okay.
She doesn't see as well as I do.
The Plus is certainly a personal preference. Some people don't mind the larger format and larger physical size, and some people benefit from the larger size. They can have larger text.
Now this one has larger text.
Some people desire to sacrifice that larger text by having a smaller physical device. It's all about preference. There's really no better or worse.
Right.
Those choices there.
Right. But what I couldn't pass up was buy one, get one free. That was hard.
Of course.
How they do it.
Of course. I found that of sorts also recently when I purchased a iPhone. There was a offer for an iPad mini, I think, for $200 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you just find these situations you just can't pass up. You mentioned the wireless charging. Yes, I'm looking forward there to Apple coming up with their pad, hoping that it actually is a step above, because you can throw your AirPod charger on there, your watch on there, and your phone on there.
Right.
Just set them all down. That I think that's a real bonus for those that have that, you know, that bedroom nightstand situation. Right. So
yeah,
looking forward to it.
What I've been struggling with, for quite a while, is my wife goes to sleep before I do, and I come in with my iPhone and with the connector, try and match them up.
Yeah.
Just a night.
I know. Well, it's going to save your connector too, because you won't be plugging stuff into it as much.
I worry about shorting, hitting the case and shorting it out.
Well, Steve, be thankful you're not using a Samsung device where it has to be the right side up. You know, having these universal top and bottom is truly a blessing most people don't fully appreciate.
Yeah. Who's barking? Other than that, I can't say that there's anything different about the phone as far as the usage or anything. It's just, it's got a home button and everything else. And for those of you that have the money, can buy an iPhone X. I guess that's good. But I was just concerned about getting a two-year phone updated to the latest. So.
Well, I'm in the in between. So when I upgraded a year ago, October, I guess, to a 7 Plus.
Yeah.
And Marcia had my old iPhone 5, and it was finally starting. And it wasn't even an SE, so it wouldn't even take the latest updates.
Yeah.
And but then, of course, so she'd got, and that had 128 gigs on it, which of course she never used. I was always going to send that back to Gazelle back when I could get $300 for it, and then she decided she wanted it. So I lost that on that deal, but that's okay. You got to keep the Wookiee happy. But
the other thing I like about this,
that phone one day. I was looking at that phone one day, and I happened to look at it from the side, and it was starting to get battery bulge. Where the batteries expand.
Yeah.
Glass is starting to pop off the side. When you can see light through the side, it's time to start thinking about replacing it. So I think it's going to end up. I still got it because it's only got about $15-20 value to it.
Right.
But I think we bought her a 7. We bought her a product red 7. I'm sorry, what? We bought her an iPhone red. She really liked the idea of supporting, the red thing. And I think I'm going to take that old iPhone E and rubber band it or bungee it or whatever, and put it up on my phone. Up on my RV's rearview mirror, which really isn't being used because I got a backup camera, but mount it up there to use as a dash cam because it's only got about a $15-20 value, but the camera works fine. So when the battery craps out, I'll plug it in. Big deal. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I checked with Apple because I thought there was a deal where they were replacing either the battery or the whole phone because it's a defective battery.
Yeah, but I think that was like for the 6s and 7s. I don't think they went back as far as the 5s. But I'll look into it. Good idea.
Yeah. I think it was 6s and 7s.
The other thing that I like about this phone that I didn't realize until I got it was the minimum memory you get in the phone is 64 gigabits.
That is really.
And then there's one step up to 128 gigabits. But I used to have an iPod that worked, and it doesn't work anymore. And I wanted to get music on my phone, but we always just getting the 16 gigabyte phones. You know, you couldn't do anything like that.
Yeah, put anything on it. Yeah, there's no room for anything.
So, but now with 64 gigs, you can put a lot of stuff on the phone.
Well, it's like my iPhone 6 was a 128 gig, and this iPhone 7 Plus is a 256 gig.
Wow.
And you know what? I don't have to worry about it running out of room for videos or apps or anything. I don't even bother.
That's true.
Yeah. Check anymore. I just put it on there. The hell with it.
Well, I usually buy the phones that are the cheapest.
Whatever works.
As long as they work as a phone, that's fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, I bought myself. I don't know whether you had ever seen this or not, John, but I had bought myself this little grip thing. I showed it at the club here about a year back, and we were getting ready to go. And I was looking for something because I've lost the ability, unfortunately, of trying to hold anything steady. So the nice thing I liked about this is a little spring clip holds it in place. I can take the wrist strap from this particular case that I've got and put that on my wrist rather than the wrist of so that way if the phone falls off, I've still got the phone hanging on my hand.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And that works out real good. It's got a tripod mount on the bottom. You can pop that off, put it on the top if you want to. It's programmable. It has 2 buttons here that power the zoom. So if you're doing video, you can get the full range of zoom by just hitting the 2 buttons here, which is pretty nice.
Oh, that's cool.
And then because wind noise is such an issue, I've been following a lot of YouTubers that are RV people, and most of them are using a DSLR for their video capture, or they're using a GoPro or something like that. Well, I'm not in a financial position to buy that with the wife watching. So I know what the iPhone does a pretty good job. It'd be good enough for YouTube for that purpose. But do I want to get a lapel mic so that I could get myself? And then I ran across something that's made for an iPhone. It mounts onto a tripod grip, so I could mount it down here on the bottom. It's a small microphone that plugs into the lightning port, and then it's got instead of the foam over the microphone, it's got what looks like a fuzzy something animal. And I found the term for that. Whenever you see these things that got this wired, fuzzy-looking hair thing over the microphone for a wind noise reducer, they're called dead cats. Believe it or not, the nickname for that microphone is a dead cat. A dead cat. And so this thing, so for $39, that gives me a microphone that I can mount here on the bottom of this grip, facing whichever direction I want.
Right.
Dedicated with a dead cat on it. And I tried this the other day without the microphone, and it works pretty good. I can do selfie crap if I really want to, or reach up and hit the camera and switch it around. These buttons are totally programmable, so you can do whatever you want. And works like a champ. So I think it'll be a cheap way for me to get video on some of our trips for my upcoming YouTube channel called, I'll get my plug-in, leisuretravelandlocks.com. So
you're going to Alaska, right? Is that right?
We're going to go to Alaska in May. We're going with a group of about 25 other RVers. Same brand of RV. So I'm trying to get everything. This RV did not come with a spare tire. Believe me, between now and then I'll buy a rim and a tire.
Wow.
And we're going to throw the Honda up there behind it, so that even though we really don't need to, this thing parks in a handicap.
Does it have a place to put the spare tire in it? I'm sure it does.
If you want to go out on a boat tour or something like. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What'd you say? You broke up.
I said that it has a place to put a tire in the RV, right?
Are you still with us, John?
No, you're slowing. Your video's slowing down.
No, not at all. In fact, the 30-footer that you went with me on didn't have that.
Oh, it didn't? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know that. The last motorhome we had, the green one, the 31-footer, didn't have a place for a spare tire.
Oh,
no.
Really? Well, that's strange.
And
now,
apparently,
your motorhome, has it got dudes in the back?
With them. So, because they're just trying to figure out a way to save, they have a place to store it, but they don't give you the spare tire because they're trying to get the weight down.
Right. Now, does yours have dualies in the back?
So what did you just ask me, John? Sorry.
Does your RV have dualies in the back?
You can always pull one of the dualies off and move it around if need be. Hear me?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I saw the picture of it. I thought it looked like it was.
Yeah. So it does. That's a weight limitation, a weight requirement more than anything else. So what I intend to do is I'm going to get the spare tire and the rim, and I'll carry it in the back of the Honda because that's got a pretty good storage area.
Yeah,
and then should I ever want to take this motorhome out by itself without towing the car behind me, I'll look at buying one of those hitch-mounted tire things, so I can do that. So, but I thought, you know what? Here in the continental United States, I don't think it'd be a problem. I've still got a year full warranty where they come out, they'll bring you a tire, they'll do all that baloney if need be.
Okay,
but
good.
Into Canada, you start getting to Alaska, that might be waiting a day or two for something like that. And so I thought, you know, it might for a $200 or $300 investment, it might be real cheap to just carry a spare and a floor jack with me, even though I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But I've got a floor jack, and just carry that with me in the back of the Honda. And if I need it, I got it. If I don't need it, so what? It's a little extra weight. I went down on mileage, so who cares?
That's great.
So it'll be just. I also want to get myself like I said, I mentioned. I got myself a Wi-Fi booster because a lot of campgrounds have Wi-Fi, but it's real spotty. And so I bought my Wi-Fi booster that, believe it or not, suction cups onto the side of the RV, so you don't have to do a permanent mount on it, which is really slick. Works out really well. They use those suction cups like they move sheets of glass with, those kind of things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then I bought myself a cellular booster because that was always an issue with us. And so that has a magnetic mount. I put that up on the dash. And we're going to have a satellite dome in it. We're going to have solar on it. So I picked it up on Tuesday. And then we'll take it out for a couple of short test runs before we do the serious one, you know, which will be gone 2.5, 3 months in May.
Sure.
May through August or whatever for that one. So I just want to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah. I just came up with a question. I just thought of, I've had an issue with photo or camera. I mean, this thing in the center, it says live when it's active. And what does that do? Because it's always going back the next time to live.
Okay. Don't you remember I guess it was with the iPhone 6, and when they came out with the touch interface, the touch face on it or whatever it was, that when you would take a picture, it would also get a second or two of video after. I think that's what they refer to as live. Am I right, Robert? And I think that's the ability to be able to turn that feature off if you don't want it.
Okay.
Right. The live is it captures a second or two before and after, and which can be which can be interesting if you have something of action. It also can help you to get the perfect shot if somebody blinks, because you could actually edit and select a single shot within a series of frames as the single one that you want.
Like a mini.
Okay, yes, but is there a setting maybe that I can set to not have that?
Correct. Yes.
So
there is a setting.
Yes.
In your settings, if you go into camera, there is a setting there to remember the turning off of it, the last known setting, because it is a problem because people will turn it off and then they go back and use it again and it's on again.
Yes, that's a problem I've been having.
Right. And in camera settings /camera, you can find a settings for it to respect the last set stage and remember that for you.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
None of us know everything.
Nope. And that's a feature that it consumes quite a bit more space actually every time you're taking a live photo, because you're taking 8, 10 shots instead of a single. And it's storing them all.
Well, so I was up in Seattle a while back, and I was taking pictures at Pike's Market, and I was taking the little stalls because my grandfather back in 24 had that's where he started when he immigrated here. And the thing is I'd see a little movement at the beginning and at the end, and I knew, and live was on, and it's not what I want. So thanks for helping me on that.
Sure. All right, Greg, what time are we closing up shop here?
Well, we can close any time from this point on, unless anybody's got any questions. Anybody specific? Bob, if you're mute, I'll unmute everybody right now so we can get everybody on. Okay, you're all unmuted. And if anybody's got any questions, now's the time to ask if we can while we've got Robert available and Steve.
I have a question.
What you got, Jeannie?
It's about an iPad. I've got the iPad Pro, and I've got all of these mails that come in. I want to delete them all, you know, like Command A and delete, and I can't figure out a way to do it.
Can't do it.
Yes?
Yes. Okay. So the way you do that is.
Oh, I've been struggling with that for the phone.
Okay. On the iOS system.
Hang on, we're all going to go through this at the same time, Robert, because I've made that mistake a couple times myself.
Okay. So if you're if you're on the iOS system and you're looking at your inbox, notice in the upper right-hand corner you have an edit, and then down in the bottom lower left you have a mark all. Mark all. So and once you got marked all,
wait, Janine, hang on. Let Robert explain it.
All right.
Okay.
And then,
so view your inbox. You've got an edit button in the upper right-hand corner. You in the lower left-hand corner, you now have a mark all. And
wait a minute, Robert, before you go any further. Notice, Janine, when you hit the edit button, the content of the inbox moves slightly to the right, and you get little selectable circles to the left. You see that down the left-hand side? So you can individually select whichever ones, or skip a few, or select, you know, skip every other one or whatever. That's one option.
I've got
and
a
then,
bunch
like Robert,
I mean, I'm choosing. I want to get rid of all these political things, and so I bring up. I got it selected there, and now edit's down at the bottom right, and I can't. So then, okay, if I go to edit, fine. Now I see the circles there, but how do I do Command A? How do I get them all? Even I've got a keyboard and everything, but I can't select them all at once.
Okay, go ahead, Robert. Tell her to get them all.
Okay. So once we have them all there, you can do a select all by. Let's see, where are we going here? Where are we going? We're going to cancel. We're going to edit.
Got that.
I had it there a moment ago. It's a function of you don't want anyone in particular. I had it.
You can't select them all. You have to manually select each one of them.
There was a delete, Greg.
Mark all down at the bottom is either mark as red or flag. It doesn't give you an option for getting rid of them.
One thing, Greg and everybody else, every one of us seem to have the different iOS on our phones, because if I went to inbox and I wanted to do the edit, on mine it's the upper right. Janine said hers is the lower something.
Nope. They're all upper right.
Okay, upper right.
In the upper right, first off, when you're looking at inbox, above the word inbox is mailboxes if you have more than one. Okay?
Right.
All right. So now you're going to go back to, since you only have one inbox, or let's make that assumption. In the upper right of the inbox section is the word edit. When you hit the word edit, they slightly slide a little to the right, and that gives a selection button to each one of them. So you can select them. But the option down there at the bottom where it says mark all, if you touch that, the choices for mark all, at least on the latest version of iOS, is to flag them or to mark as read, as read. There's no way.
It depends upon. It depends it depends upon the type of account it is. If it's IMAP or POP, they act differently, because you can delete all in some of your mail accounts. And on this particular device, I was looking at my iPad Pro. Let me jump over to the phone and take a look at that there, because I can mark all. Darn it, I did it the other day. I was able to delete all.
Well, let me, while you're looking, Robert, one thing I noticed on mine, if I did the edit and I took and marked those that I don't want by the name, by the sender, I can do that. Now on mine, it says at the bottom, mark all as blue, and then move, and then trash going right. And so if I select a few, then the move becomes active, and it gives you a place to move them, one of them being trash. What I'm going to do is I'm going to search for my brother's, because every time he goes riding on his bike, he sends me a thing called e-crumbs. And the day after it's been up, then they become deactivated because it takes up space on their servers. I want to see if you can go to the search at the top of the, oh, I can't even do that, can I? Oh, geez. Yeah, the search for, Robert, the other thing I've got is when I say search, it comes up suggested searches, unread, flagged, messages for VIPs, and messages with attachments. How do you change those, or can you change those? Roberto?
Okay, you do get the option to delete all when you go into like your junk folder and you click on the edit. The option for delete all shows up there.
Uh-huh.
I just Googled it. How can I delete all from mailbox or sent mail folders in iOS?
Frank, that's just exactly what I did starting out a couple of weeks back. And there were so many different suggestions, and I couldn't get it to work right. So, Robert,
I did this thing myself. It did work for me. And I'm trying to get it to happen again because I know it worked. I did this the other day. And unfortunately, okay.
Okay, well, what I'm reading here is basically this guy wanted to delete sent, but if you go to your inbox folder, it says tap on the edit button at the top right, select the first email in your list, hold down the move button. While you are still holding the move button, deselect the first email, put away all your fingers from the screen, wait a few seconds. Now Mail asks where you want to move all your emails. Select the trash folder. Inside the trash folder, you can delete all items at once. That's what this guy said.
Well, this is basically what I did to explain what I was trying to do. These are called Road ID, and it's used by this group eCrumb, and they put digital crumbs showing where you've been. Well, okay, I went to search, and I got it all sorted out now with a bunch of them. It probably goes a mile down. And what happens is I take and I'm looking now at the bottom, and I can't see anything to select as far as delete or edit. It just says cancel. And so I'm like, there's nothing to do that trick that you were talking about, Frank.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just, I don't know, let me click this message it says.
You know, they've changed this in each iteration of the recent emails because I did have this the other day and I'm not able to pick it up at the moment, I'm sorry to say.
That's okay.
I did in fact have to do that recently.
Oh, by the way, also, just so you're aware, Apple has gotten a little tighter with their specialists. You know, they wander around the store and they'll, you were looking for this or looking for that. Basically, if you have any little question about, well, how do I do this with my iPhone or something, not something for a genius. And it used to be that they would, you could engage them in a back and forth. Now that it's Christmas, they want them all selling, and make an appointment. If you've got questions, make an appointment with the Genius Bar, which is business-wise, it's good for them, but for us, when we get frustrated, it's not very good.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to come up with the fix that I did. Perhaps it was in a previous iOS.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't see a way of doing it either. That's interesting, because they will let you delete them all if they're in junk or trash. If they're already in junk or trash, when you hit the edit button, you get the option to permanently delete them.
Right, but I can't in one swipe move them all to junk type of thing.
No, you can't.
I did this a week ago, and unfortunately, it's not working at the moment.
Yeah, because I want to do is I just got all my mail, and now at the bottom, if I click, if I click edit at the top, then it goes at the bottom, mark all, move is grayed out, and trash is grayed out. And if I select just one thing, like American Airlines, I can trash it or move it, but I want just one sender by sorting and find one sender and be able to select them all and trash them, and it won't let me do that.
Right.
It's just ornery.
Well, it's unexpected.
Sorry. Yep. Sorry, I'm not coming up with the answer I had.
Many times where I've sent stuff into Apple as a need to fix or need the option, like gray. This deal of everything going to gray if it's not available. Since I spent a lot of time, 36 years, as much as I've done with OACC at Leisure World, when you're seniors, a lot of them have eye problems, macular degeneration, or the contrast is too close to white. And so a lot of times you can't see it. I says, why don't you just give us a setting where we can say, okay, I want this to be red, or I want this to be blue, so that they can see it. Because there are times when that gray, you can't tell.
Okay, the fix for that, Steve, is to go into settings, go into accessibility, general, go into accessibility, and you'll find there that you can increase the contrast. You can bold the text.
On the Mac.
I'm talking about the iOS. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay,
on the Mac.
sorry.
Right. No, I was talking the iOS. Sorry, Steve.
I've tried that, the same thing. I know exactly what he's talking about. You'll get websites where the text is gray rather than black, and you increase the contrast, but that, to me, that doesn't work as much as if I had a true contrast knob where I could slide it back and forth like you can with a brightness knob. You know,
and
I see what he says. It'd be nice to be able to just say, you know, anything that's gray, make it friggin' black.
Yeah.
Or make it a different color to where I can see it a little bit better. I know exactly what he's talking about. The contrast option is better than nothing, and sometimes you can go to reverse the colors and live with that a little bit, but it still doesn't quite cut it. I know exactly what he's talking about, Robert. Sorry.
Did you know
right.
Also,
no, you're correct.
Did you know that you can take the home button and press it quickly 3 times, and it turns your screen to be a whole different.
That's a setting that will happen by choice in accessibility.
Oh, really?
And yes, yeah, you can trigger your home button triple play to do multiple different choices of things.
Okay.
That being one of them.
I'm going to have to go look at accessibility and study.
For those that have grandkids, you want to trigger the home button to unlock or lock the use of the home button in its normal moment. Because a grandchild will often play on the iPad or iPhone and accidentally hit the home button and exit their game. So in using in accessibility, you can turn off the home button from being able to easily exit the application that you're in. In fact, you can password protect it such that it locks somebody into a particular application, which can be very handy.
See, this is what happens.
During that 6 months, they don't know how to use it no less than you. After that 6 months, they know more than you, and you can turn that off because they figured out your password.
It's terrible.
Can't win.
You have a 6 month phase, you have control of your kids with your iPhone devices.
The simplest thing to do is get them their own iPhone or iPad, and then you never have to let them touch yours again.
There you go. There you go.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Janine.
There's this thing called http:// then it says ask trim. It says see balances, transactions, ways we can save you dollars. What? I have no idea how I got this, but it sounds suspicious to me.
Any idea on that one, Frank?
What's the name of it?
Well, it's ASKTR.IM, Ask Trim. And see balances, transactions, ways we can save you dollars. It's, I don't know how I got it, but I don't think.
Sounds like a scam. Sounds like a scam.
Is it in your email?
Okay, here.
Message.
Ask Trim Review, 3 things you need to know about it, Mr. Smart. That's the first thing that came up.
Okay.
Okay. Saving money should be easy. Automate it. Okay, dear readers, I'm always on the lookout for new personal finance tools that can be of help to you. There's a ton of mediocre apps plus tools out there, so I try my best to curate these reviews. That being said, when I first heard about Trim, I was intrigued. The value proposition is enticing, a free financial assistant that helps you save money on autopilot. Okay, Trim, you had me at free. You're at least worth a shot. So I tried the service myself and graded them on 3 criteria for the review: price versus value, software, ease of use, and features. So what is it? Trim is essentially an AI assistant for your finances. It's like being able to ask Siri. The founders are, in their own words, building the equivalent of a self-driving car for your financial life. And while I wouldn't say it's that intuitive yet, I'm all for streamlining my life in any way possible. So he hasn't said anything about it yet.
Right.
That he's just basically given his 2 cents. At the time of this writing, Trim's main functionality comes from canceling reoccurring subscriptions you no longer want or may be unaware of. This is how they started. When you sign up for the free service, you can see all the subscriptions you currently have and can choose which ones you'd like to keep. With some recently added features, Trim can now price protect your Amazon purchases, get your money back if the price drops after you purchase, negotiate/lower your Comcast bill, get money back for outages, etc. Give you bonus dollars for using service. More on that in a bit. What they're currently working on and hoping to do in the near future: lower your insurance bills, auto switching to better provider, provide AI optimized financial advice. How does it work? The overall process is pretty simple. You sign up for the free service either through Facebook or email. Then link your relevant accounts. Trim then automatically searches your history for purchases, subscriptions to see where it can save you money. How did I use it? In an effort to live more frugally, I used Trim to cut down on my monthly expenses. I personally didn't find any hidden subscriptions. but I did get a good grasp of how much necessary waste I had. I ended up using it to cancel most of my reoccurring bills, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Spotify, etc. My favorite unexpected bonus, $10 free at the movies. So, for free at the movies. So, and it goes on and on and on. Price versus value, he gave it an A+. Software ease of use, B+. He doesn't seem to have anything bad to say about it. So that I can see. I'm just kind of scrolling through it. I'm only halfway down the webpage of this guy's review. So there's a whole bunch more.
Well, and there's, Frank, isn't there other, when you did the Google search, isn't there other articles too?
Well, this was the first one on top. I'm sure that there is. Let me go back to my search. Ask Trim to save money. That's thecollegeinvestor.com. Now they actually have their own webpage, go.asktrim.com. Ask Trim Review, Ask Trim Review. There's a bunch of different reviews on it. So basically just Google Ask Trim, and you're going to come up with all kinds of stuff for it.
Okay.
You know, that's the best. I didn't see anything bad about it from what I read through. But then again, who knows?
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. I mean, it sounds good, but, you know, more and more, you know, certain things, do you want a database to have your information? That's the first question you have to ask yourself, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So many different databases out there, and so many databases get hit. You know, with our personal information, we don't know who has what. And there's so much misinformation out there. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, I had an issue. I was helping my brother with a Windows 7 machine, an accounting machine, and it had this one severe Trojan on it. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It took us a whole day to clean the system and get rid of it.
Oh, speaking of Trojans, Frank.
There's money in them Trojans, though. I love it.
Yeah, you love it, but
Exactly.
I'll tell you, I had, it probably wasn't caused by a Trojan or a malware, but I did something on my newly set up iMac 27-inch where I was having problems with everything coming in that normally would go in my inbox was ending up in the junk folder. So I went and checked what my settings were for rules and stuff, and I found some old rules from ages ago, and I got rid of them all. And but then I said, okay, well, I can move one, I can move two emails back into the inbox from the junk folder. Then I got the idea, well, gee, if I can do that, then I should be able to select all and move them back into the inbox. Well, come to find out, my email program exploded, and I used a recovery program to recover them, but the date that's showing on the file is not the date of the email. It doesn't match what's inside. And so I've, kind of put that aside for now and just use the phone and the MacBook Pro for my emails. And it's really frustrating as hell, but my son says maybe we should just pick another iMac and start from scratch again.
Yeah, well, sometimes cleaning up the old mess can help too. On your iOS device, if you are in Safari, if you press and hold in the lower right-hand corner where you show the two rectangles that you might close a single individual page, if you press and hold that, it will allow you to close all of your tabs. And some of you may be shocked by the number of open tabs you have. That is slowing yourself down just a little bit.
Oh, is that the two overlaying?
Yes, press and hold that.
Yeah, I've done that, and it's amazing.
How many tabs do you have open, Steve?
Doesn't tell me how many, and I'm not going to count them, but it's a shitload.
Well, if you press and hold that, one
Yeah.
of the options in the selections, the top one will be to close all at one time.
Yeah, it'll show you how many tabs you got.
Right. And Greg, where are you at? How many tabs?
I had 7, so I just killed them all.
I have 467.
Oh, mine. I see, Robert. You hold it at the beginning.
Right.
Close all 62 tabs.
Yeah, here you go. So some of us could use more of a diet than others, but there you go. There's a to see what kind of excess weight you're carrying around. Yeah. So
all you gotta do is look at Steve's desktop. That'll tell you.
Give it a break. What I do is
start on top of each other because you haven't got enough screen real estate.
I've already got a folder called screenshots from desktop, and I put them all in one, just like everybody's told me. And I'd say one of these days I'll sort them to where I've got, where they go, because usually the screenshots are either something I want to look back on, or it's a screenshot of credit card payment. And that's the way I have proof.
I do that too, but I have a folder called Bill Pay.
Yeah.
And I put all those, every time I pay anything through the B of A Bill Pay or anybody else, if I've got any kind of a receipt, a screenshot that I take or save as a PDF, it goes into that Bill Pay folder. Now,
Yeah.
of course, if you've got a halfway decent name, you can find it with the search utility. But inside the Bill Pay folder, at least there, every time I pay a bill, it'll be who the bill is, like City of Anaheim, $, $, whatever the amount was, 2 spaces, and then Corky would have a heart attack, but I would call, like today being the, what is the day? Today's the 9th. So my naming convention would be 120917, because I can look, I can read it that way.
Yes.
And he goes, well, they don't sort that way. I don't really give a shit. They sort of the first name. What do I care? I can look at all my City of Anaheim, guess what? When I look for City of Anaheim, they're all together because that's how I named them, City of Anaheim.
Yeah.
And then I can look at the tail of it. I can either look at the file date, but I can look at the tail of it, and it's the date I paid it, not today's date, because today's date will be already saved in the file manager. So it'll say, City of Anaheim, $345.82, space 120417. So I can see I paid it on the 4th. I can see what the amount I paid was, and I can see who it's by. Guess what? That system works for me.
Yeah, that's a great system, Greg. And the thing is,
I don't have to open them up. That's all. And then, like, when I get coupons, like as an example, there's a deal right now at Blake's, which is a barbecue joint over here, right? So Blake's, it'll be you buy 1 barbecue meal and a second drink, and you get the second barbecue meal for free. It's a great deal. They do it 3 or 4 times a year. Of course, right now it's no good. I'm going to go over there and see if I can't get the second barbecue meal to bring home for Marcia, and I'll take my own food over there, kind of a deal. Because that's really a challenge right now, is whenever we go out, is I'm taking my own food with me. Anyhow, I'll take a screen snapshot of that so that I always have, and then I'll email it to myself, or I'll move it through AirDrop or whatever, so I have it on the laptop. So I have it on my phone, so I can just show them the phone, because they'll honor that. A lot of places won't do that, but they want you to make a paper one. But I'll put what it is. It'll say Blake's, BOGO, buy one, get one, that kind of crap, space, ... If there's a price in there, I'll put the price in there. And then the date I put on that one is when it expires, so that I can look in a folder called discounts, and I look at that folder. If I see 120417, I can just trash it. I don't even have to open it up. I know it's already expired.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Greg, I've set my things up to be, let's see, CBV, PYMT, and the date. And Citibank, Visa, the payment date. I don't put the amount, just to have it filed correctly. And I think if I go ahead with the bypass surgery coming up, possibly I'll have plenty of time to try and straighten up this mess.
When's that targeted for? When are they planning
Well,
on doing
I
it?
haven't talked to the doctor yet. The surgeon, I was supposed to make an appointment, and his assistant called me yesterday almost at 5 o'clock, and she said, your doctor wanted you to have made an appointment with them by now, with the surgeon by now, and I just need time to verify the surgeon. And because in cardio rehab, a lot of us talk about, like how many of them have had bypass surgery, and they'll show me their scar and all that stuff.
I had 5, well, not bypass, but I had stents. I had 5 stents put in.
Well, the thing is
they screwed up the artery in the leg. They had to put a stent there as well.
Oh, well, the thing is I just had the 1 stent put in when I had the heart attack up in Seattle.
Yeah.
But the thing is it was much easier. I was ready to go the next day. And true, I couldn't lift, or I couldn't do all these different things. But the deal of opening you up and pulling a vein, artery from your leg and all this stuff doesn't sound pleasant. But it's, what it is, Greg.
Hey, it beats the alternative.
Yeah. Well, the thing
I
is,
wake up in the morning, Steve, and there's not dirt in my mouth. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah. Robert said to me one time, he says, "At least I'm above the grass."
Well, down in Louisiana, they're all buried above the grass.
Yeah. Well, what happens is the cardiologist put me on a vegan diet, and you're talking about ribs and stuff like that is just killing me because I love ribs.
Look, let me tell you, this has become a lifesaver for me. I wish I'd have done this 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Because 54 pounds since September, that ain't too shabby.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll see you, and you'll be a image of your former self before you got.
My dad used to always say when he was alive, well, picture yourself thin. I can't. I don't remember ever not being fat or heavy or whatever.
Give me the name of that again, Greg.
The food?
Yeah.
It's HMR. I think it means Health Maintenance Resources. It's available directly from HMR.com, or you can get it off of Amazon. Now, the price from Amazon, roughly about $3.50 a meal. I get it since I've signed up for the program that they call Healthy Concepts at St. Jude, because it's a doctor supervised diet. So every week when I go to my meeting, the berating meeting where you get weighed and all that bullshit, and I pick up my food, I can either get it by email or call it on the phone. Or I can do it right there, but then I have to wait for everybody else. So I'll go in on Monday and I'll have my meals for the next week. Sometimes I'll buy for 2 weeks if I know I'm going to be gone. And then I go through my meeting, which is about an hour and 15 minutes. Don't ask me how they figured that one out. And then I either see a nurse practitioner, or the doctor every week. I see that. And every month I get labs done.
And you're happy with the the quality of that?
Very happy. I wish this really pisses me off, and a lot of people. That my insurance company would pay 50 or 60 grand for a bypass, or for a gastric bypass, but they won't chip in anything for you to lose the weight naturally, which really ticks me off. I can understand not paying for the food, because food is food, but $100 a month or whatever it is for the doctors. So like whenever the labs, I'd have to pay for the labs out of my own pocket. Well, I told my doctor, I said, this is stupid. If you ordered them, my insurance would cover it. He goes, so tell them to put it under my name, and that's what they do. So the labs, I'm not paying the $100 a month or whatever it is for the labs. I get that, and I get the doctor, either the endocrinologist, who I suffered my insulin issues, or my general practitioner or whatever it is, or the heart doctor. They're all so stoked that I'm doing this, that they say, no problem, just forward it to me and I'll put the lab through, and the next day I can go get them done, and it doesn't cost me anything for that. So at least,
Greg, that's the thing is about that. My daughter uses the same thing. She goes to a one of those skin doctors, dermatologist. And so what happens is she goes in for a facial or something, and they charge it through the doctor office. You know, they have somebody who does that in his office. And
well,
so
it bothers me, Steve, when they call it quote unquote preventive maintenance. And I can sort of understand if you're ugly and you want to get good looking. I can sort of understand that, you know, and that'll never happen in my case because I'm far beyond that. But the idea of making you healthier, I mean, I'm spending. God, they want to put me on this one drug, Repatha. You see it advertised on TV all the time. $1,000 for the prescription. I said, what's it going to do for me? Well, it'll help lower your blood pressure. Really, my blood pressure now, which used to be in the 170s, is averaging around 140. How much lower could it get before it gets down to because of my reduction of food and the garbage that I was eating? Right. Why would I spend $1,000 on something that may make an improvement? What I'm doing right now is working.
Right.
Yeah, good to hear something's working.
Out of 11 drugs, I'm down 2 drugs. I take no short-term insulin anymore. I did for 20 some odd years.
Wow.
I take long-term insulin. I used to take 40 units at night before going to bed and 40 units in the morning. Now I'm at 10 and 10, and I think they'll probably drop that here in a few weeks.
Very good.
On one of my blood pressure medicines, that's gone. My second medicine that I've got, chlorothiazidone, I forget what the hell it does, but I went from 25 milligrams to 12 milligrams, so I'm breaking the existing tablets that I've got in half. And, you know, my whole goal is I'll be able to pay for all this shit with the stuff I ain't spending money on anyway, you know.
Yeah,
so
good to hear.
I'll get there. Like I said, I only wish I'd have been bright enough to have thought it through 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have lost my leg. I would have, you know, I'd be in just general better. But, you know, I figure I want at least 10 years with this damn RV, and my wife, hopefully both of us will survive in relatively good shape.
Yes.
And if what it takes, this is what it takes. That's it. I'm just sorry I didn't do it earlier, you know.
Well, that's the whole thing, Greg, is had I known how badly I love meat, you know, and it's just like when they show me the angiogram of the heart muscle and you see the blood arteries, the heart arteries, which supply blood to the heart itself, being, here there's a blockage here, there's so much percentage blockage here. And I say, shit, if I hadn't been so stupid, I, you know, wouldn't need this stuff.
Well, let me tell you, this outfit makes, now, you know, I'm sure Weight Watchers and Nutrition, and I've tried them all, believe me, I've tried them all over 66 years, I've tried them all. They all work. It's a mental problem more than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
So all these food, this is all, they're just like MREs, meals ready to eat kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It requires 1 minute in a microwave. 1 minute. How can you go wrong with that? They had two choices. They had 2 choices for what they call phase 1, which is getting rid of the bulk of your weight. One was called healthy choices, which required their meals and fruits and vegetables. But the problem there is I'd either have to rely on my wife to buy the right stuff, or I have to, and nothing against her, but you know, she's another person that's not on this, right? Or I have to rely on myself. Well, the idea of going to the market and picking out what I needed as opposed to what I wanted scared me. But the second option they had was what they called decision free, which is only their food. As much as I want, as weird as that sounds, that's hard getting used to. And she's a nurse. She has a hard time with that concept. But like for somebody who started off close to 400 pounds, my all-time worst was 422, and I was at 397 when I started this. At 340, wow. I'm at 341 right now. And so, or whatever it is. And so this deal here is for somebody at 400 pounds, you can have like 25 of these a day.
Wow.
So, I mean, the minimum was they wanted me to have 3 shakes and or cereal or soup. That's what falls into one category. They wanted me. I'm not a big fan of the shake. They're okay. And they taste great if you fix them the right way. Well, I'm too lazy to do that. I know me. When you're supposed to put the ice in a blender and you add the crap into you know what? That's too much cleaning up after. I have to remember to go put water in this shaker thing here. And I would literally just spoon it into a glass and eat it that way. I really don't care. The food is so good that I've eaten it a lot of times cold, because a lot of times we'll go to a restaurant and I'll take a couple of these meals in with me. Tell them I'm on a doctor supervised diet. Would they heat them up in a microwave for a minute? Some places, for I think legal reasons, they won't do that, because if you got sick or whatever, they don't want to be responsible. Fine, I'll eat the food cold. I don't really care. Their turkey chili and beans is as good as any turkey chili I've been able to find anywhere in my life. I could live on just this if I had to.
Wow.
They have a 5-bean casserole that's great. They have a multi-grain cereal that's essentially it's oatmeal, but it's got other crap added, grains of some sort or whatever the hell it is. Then it's got apples, dried apples, dried raisins, they're already dried, and cranberries in there. You add water, heat it up in the microwave for a minute. I found out that one in the morning didn't cut it for me, that a couple hours later I was hungry. So I said, well, wait a minute, it falls into the same category as having these other meals where you can have more. So I'll have 2 of those in the morning. Well, now I have that almost religiously every day, 2 of those in the morning. I haven't done it yet because I didn't want to hassle with it. I had a couple of the shakes this morning with this thing. But I'll get up in a few minutes and I'll go fix myself the microwave. I try to stay out of the kitchen. I don't keep the food in the kitchen. If my wife is here, she'll heat them up. She knows my reasoning. Because if I go in the kitchen, I'll find something else to eat. So I haven't opened the refrigerator, honest to God, in 3 months.
Oh, boy.
Oh, gosh.
I see no reason to open the refrigerator. If I'm hungry, I go over to my wet bar. We don't drink. Neither of us drink anymore. We just decided we didn't want to anymore. And so I've got all my food stored over there, and I'll just pull out a couple of things, either the same or almost always I'll take out 2 different ones. There's about 18 different meals, I guess, besides the cereals. And I'll take out 2 of those, I'll open them up, and I'll just eat them right out of the package. She goes, would you like me to heat that up? Yeah, if you don't mind, but I don't really care. I'll eat them cold. I don't really care, because I can have 2 of those, and I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
So I'm averaging around 1,000 to 1,300 calories a day. That's insane for somebody who's 350 pounds.
That's awesome.
And it's working like a champ. And again, their concept is more is better as long as the more is something we tell you can have. Well, let's face it, they're selling me more food, so that makes sense to them. But I'd be eating anyway. And if I have 2 of these, I'm into it for what? About $7? Be honest with you, if I went by a McDonald's, I'd spend an easy $10 or $12 on crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you know something
the hardest thing getting used to is it's easy at my parents' house, at my mom's house. We always go over there almost every Sunday since my dad passed. But like Thanksgiving, we were over at my cousin's. I took two of the lasagnas because they look pretty much like normal looking food. That all looks normal. But, I mean, when you eat them out of the little tray, it doesn't, it looks. So sometimes I'll move it to a plate, but I don't want to. I'm lazy. I don't want to dirty the dishes, so I'll just eat them out of the tray, right? So we go over there, and I'm sitting at the table with everybody else. Marcia gets up. She goes, nuke me a couple of these things, brings them out. She puts them on a regular plate. So 2 of them together looks like a lot of lasagna. And next to me, my cousin, he's 7'1", he's 71 or 72 or whatever. He can stand to lose about 20, 30 pounds. He'll probably get out of the program after the first year. The wife emphatically told him no right now because of the holidays. But no matter when you start, you got a holiday. It doesn't make any difference. I started the first week of September. 2 days into this, we had a group dinner to go to, and I took my food with me and didn't have it. So have I cheated? Of course I have. When we were on our trip coming back from Vermont, we'd be driving, and I'd look down at the time, and shit, I've been driving like an idiot. I was figuring, hey, it's only this far on the map to drive. Well, that'd be like 10 hours, Yeah. And so I'd pull into wherever, we'd stop at a
McDonald's.
Well, not a McDonald's, but coming back the day before we got home, we stopped off at a Wendy's because we had been driving so long, and Marcia wanted to have something. And I packed 50 pounds worth of my food in my luggage and took it back on the airplane with me. So we pulled into Wendy's, and then a guy came over, wanted to see our RV, and we were giving him the spiel, giving him the whole talk about the whole thing. And we'd been sitting out there for about an hour. Well, now another hour's gone by of driving or whatever. And Marcia said, well, I'm going to go ahead and go into Wendy's. Do you want me to get you like a Diet Coke or something like that? I said, you know what? I'm going to go in and have a chicken salad. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have. But you know what? I didn't figure that was too bad over 7 days or whatever. So, I mean, I break down every now and then, and I'll have something. And you know what? As long as I'm going in the right direction overall, that's all I really care about right now.
Right.
So it's not so bad when I'm with it's not so bad going to a function if I can control the situation, which is either eat a lot of food ahead of time And again, if I get hungry, I just get up and go get one. Big deal. What's the difference? You know, that's the whole idea is we know what's going in your body, dummy, as opposed to what you're normally eating. So I figure I'm way ahead no matter what like I said, I figure literally about a year from now, I'll be down real close. My goal weight is probably somewhere between 200 and 2.25. I won't know till I get down there because I've never been down there before. But and there's a good chance, you know, you get to a certain spot where they want you to transition into regular foods, what they call phase 2, which is some of the meals and fruits and vegetables. So like I was telling the quote life coach or whatever it is at the weight thing, she goes, when are you going to Alaska? And I said, we're going to leave about May 20th, but the trip itself doesn't officially start till the 28th of May. We all meet up in Seattle. So I said, so I'm either going to be taking a ton of food with me, or I can have it shipped by Amazon or even from the hospital to like general delivery. Like we're going to have some of our mail done general delivery. When we get to Seattle, we'll get mail. When we go to we get to Anchorage, we'll get mail, that kind of a deal. So I'll have some of the stuff just shipped there, and I'll pay the freight. I don't really give a rat's ass.
Yeah.
But there's going to be times that they're going to be having a potluck or whatever it is, and there's no two ways about it. I'm going to join in. I'm not going to go through all this and not have I love fish, not have a chance to have some fresh salmon. You know, I'm going to do a couple of the meals. I'm just not going to do 3 a day with them because I know what it'll do to me. But there's a good chance that I might be down low enough to move into the second phase. I don't think I will. She thinks I will, but I don't think I will. But I've had I know when I stay on it real solid, I lose about 5 pounds every week. This week was a 2-pound weight because I went out and partied one night. You know, I went to a smorgasbord with some friends I hadn't seen in years. And we had picked the food up. We put it up to take it, walked out the door, got about halfway there and realized I didn't have it with me. And I said, the hell with it. I'll just eat off their menu. And they had, and like an idiot, I had a knockwurst and I had a bratwurst and I had the red cabbage. That probably wasn't a real issue. The sauerkraut, that probably wasn't a real issue. I didn't have any potatoes. I didn't have the salad because of the dressing. Although there are certain things you can have. But so I figured I'm gonna screw myself up that night. I might as well screw myself up good and then go back to normal the next day or whatever it is. So okay, I didn't lose as much that week, but at least I didn't feel like I was totally left out either. So
sure.
I'll get there.
Good to hear. Yeah, it sounds like you're doing great, Greg.
Well, the big thing is I probably wouldn't have lost this leg because of diabetes had I paid attention to what I was doing, but I was young and stupid as opposed to being old and stupid, you know, so
yeah.
But at least at this stage of being old and stupid, I'm starting to learn. That's the important part.
Yeah. One thing, Greg, I have found, you know, since it made me go on the vegan diet thing, was that there is a lot of food items that are vegan that look like the real thing.
Well, I mean, like Boca Burgers. Boca Burgers, they sell them over at Costco. They're actually pretty good.
Oh, how much are they at Costco?
You know, I haven't bought them for probably a couple of years or whatever, but they're veggie burgers. Honest to God, you'd swear they were a hamburger.
Yeah, I tried that Boca Burger. And the other thing, and those I've tried some because I really like the what do you call it? Whole Foods had a version of veggie burger that was called 365. It's their own brand.
I knocked this stuff down.
It was like $3.99 for 4 burgers is $1 a piece.
But I'll give you an example, Steve. Most of the restaurants, Carl's Jr. is the best one about it right now. You can go get a barbecued chicken sandwich at Carl's Jr. and get it lettuce wrapped. Hell, that saves you like 250 calories right there. And guess what? Their hamburgers, or In-N-Out was the first one that started doing it with what they called the protein burger.
Yeah.
The food actually tastes, as much as I like bread, and I haven't had bread in months, as much as I like bread, when you get one of those sandwiches wrapped in lettuce, especially if they've done it right, wrap it in lettuce where you can actually pick it up in your hand and eat it like a sandwich, you can actually taste the meat, you can actually taste the chicken. The bread's not sucking up all the flavor.
This is I want to show these guys. We're talking about it. Hey,
so
hang on.
So far, it's working for me. That's the important part.
Getting me a
guys. I need to exit. I don't want to be rude and not just disappear.
Bye. Good seeing you,
Robert.
It's good. It's good. All right. Thank you, guys.
So,
take care.
Greg, this is what I found: Oro wheat, and it's 100% whole wheat rolls, and they're these little thin. Let's see if I can get this.
I can see them. Yeah, they almost like an English muffin cut in half.
Yeah, and they are sliced. I
mean,
they're
very good. They're very good.
How they do it. But so I've tried the different. I've tried the Boca. I've tried some other ones they showed me at Whole Foods, and I just put a little barbecue sauce on it, and that's lunch. You know. And I've got to get my fruit and vegetables in the evening. Sometimes in the morning. Diane had a person here making me oatmeal in the morning and tea and fruit. And so everything was going good there. And then the other thing was, though, she was making me burritos made with black beans and vegetables. And that was pretty good. But then they started getting a little boring. So looking for other ways to take care of what I have to do. So anyway, if everybody's ready to go, I'm
probably... It's been good talking to you all. Have a nice Christmas, and I'll try to figure something out between now and then what we can do for January, but we'll figure something out.
Okay.
So you all have a good holiday.
Okay. You all. Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks. Take care.
To everybody.